Chapter 101. The next day, the transcendent is perfect, and the mask of transcendence is torn off. This caused an uproar in the entire human society. Countless people marched in the streets, angrily denouncing the Avengers and Transcendents, telling them to get out of the Earth. Lots of stuff about the Superman class was smashed. Almost all heroes have suffered the same fate. The conflict between Superman class and mortals seems to have completely exploded because of this incident. Lin Ke watched the fire from the other side. Hill and the others are also helpless about this kind of thing. This is a social problem. It doesn't mean that it can be solved. As long as human beings are reasonable and present facts, they can coexist peacefully. The Earthling had already ascended and fought with the God of Heaven. At the same time, a super team has entered this numbered Earth. The ultimate team solved the ultimate problem. Miss America raised her chin and said her slogan. The world seems to be on an anti-hero parade. Spectrum's eyes flickered. It's not within our mandate. Black Panther said. We are responsible for arresting M and bringing him to justice. This group of 5 members is the ultimate 09 team with diverse reputations. Every member has the ability to reach heaven and earth. There are 5 people. Respectively, Miss America, female gender, possesses ability. Miss America can repair multi-universes and teleport between multi-universes. Spectrum, gender female, has abilities. Pure basic, infinite energy, FTL flight, invisibility, appearance change. Captain Marvel, female, possesses ability, flight, super strength, and energy release. Blue Surprise, male, possesses ability, flight, super strength, super self-healing, energy release, super universal consciousness. Black Panther, male, possesses ability, super strength, fighting master, and vibranium equipment. This is a group of ruthless bastards from the ultimate universe. Lon Surprise, confirmed the target location. Miss America looked at Lon in surprise. Give it to me. Lon nodded in surprise and closed his eyes. Mental power swept across the planet in an instant, then said, Come with me. Saying that, the consciousness opened the wormhole, and the whole person walked in. Everyone followed and appeared in the living room of Lin Ke's house. Sky happened to be there. The sudden arrival of the 5 people made her expression change drastically, and she asked, Who are you? Lon Jingwei pushed the sunglasses and said, Don't be afraid. We are superheroes from another universe, and we came here this time to arrest MJ. M is a super dangerous mutant. We detected that he had appeared in this universe and contacted a lady named Jessica. Sky listened and did not relax directly. All 5 gave her a sense of danger. Who are you? At this time, Cindy and the others also came out. Mia, Wanda, Hill, and Simmons went to Paradise Island to avoid suspicion. Now it's just them and Lin Ke left in the family. Lan's surprised eyes locked onto Jessica immediately. The other team members also looked at Jessica. Seeing this, Cindy directly manifested the spider battlesuit. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Can you calm down? We are really good people. Advertisement. The Spectrum station set a step forward. Lon Jingwei was too angry, and the woman Spectrum stood up, and the effect was much better. Your statement is not convincing. Lin Ke walked out of the room in a simple suit. But we're telling the truth. Captain Marvel lifted his chin and said arrogantly. Spectrum helpless. These teammates are really worrying enough. Team Ultimate doesn't have a good reputation on diversity, because it always fights with people. Fortunately, Lin Ke is not an unreasonable person. He raised his hand and signaled everyone to sit down. Everyone gave him a lot of face. Lin Ke glanced at Jessica and then said, Tell me about MJ. Miss America coughed and said, M, whose real name is Sir James Jaspers, comes from Earth in the Earth 238 universe. Criminal number 1 in the entire multi-universe. It is also the most powerful mutant we have ever encountered, with a force zone that destroys the dimension of reality. Because of the big movement in your universe before, it caused some chain reactions, and MJ escaped the sanctions of Captain Britain. So Merlin gave us the task of catching MJJ. Miss America explained the whole story. Sky and the others were a little confused. However, Lin Ke understood. Especially the word Merlin has attracted his attention. Merlin is the guardian of the Omniverse. Captain Britain was created by him. A sword in the stone can split the omnipotent universe. You said MJ had contact with Jessica. What happened? Lin Ke said seriously. As he spoke, he hugged Jessica intimately, signaling her not to be afraid. According to the time of your universe, Miss America pondered for a moment and said, About 2 years ago. Lin Ke immediately checked the previous timeline and found nothing abnormal. So he looked at Jessica and asked softly, "Jessica, do you have any impression?" Jessica lowered her head. Suddenly, she remembered something and said, 2 years ago, I kept hearing a voice in my dream. He said that he could change my character. I don't know if it is he, change character? Cindy said. Why do you want to change your personality? Jessica bowed her head deeply. I don't feel like I'm welcome. Cindy was speechless and a little sad. During that time, it should be the 120 time when Jessica felt the most inferior. Both parents died. There is a group of shining friends around me. It's like being in a social circle. Lin Ke smiled wryly. Knowing that it's useless to preach to Jessica now, I can only give a little more care in the future. The 5 members of the ultimate team looked at each other. It should be MJ, that's right. Lan Jingji looked distressed and said, he may have hid in the dream dimension. Miss, can you let me check your thinking? Before Jessica could speak, Lin Ke shook his head and said, forget it. Besides, since he hid in the dream dimension, it is possible for him to appear in anyone's dream. After speaking, he inspected Jessica's body to make sure that there were no hidden dangers, so he was relieved. Trouble. After all this time, he may have drawn a lot of strength and recovered from his injuries. Spectrum frowned and said, besides, how to catch him is also a difficult problem. After a moment of silence, Lan said in amazement, I have a way to enter the dream dimension, but I can't deal with MJ alone. 2 years have passed. Who knows what MJ has grown into? We can only lure him out. We must think of a way before we fall asleep. Miss America is very worried. Once the ultimate team members fall asleep in this universe, M will surely find them. Chapter 102. Lin Ke also frowned. That being said, it's really troublesome. Such a thing as the dimension of dreams. Basically, whoever occupies it first has the final say. More importantly, this kind of succubus lord is very difficult to kill. As long as people dream, they have the possibility of resurrection. B. Unless you let MJ into your dream, and then punch him, wipe him from the root. But problem. Will MJ come to invade his dreams? After such a long time, I am afraid that he has already known the real body of the god of creation. Let's find out if MJ is still in this universe first. Lin Ke spoke. You can't find the enemy in the void. MJ better be gone if he's sensible. If you don't know what's interesting, Lin Ke pulled out a drawing board. The rest of the people watched in surprise, not knowing what Lin Ke was going to do. The ability to create something out of nothing, Sky, and the others are no strangers to it. The same goes for Ultimate Team. It's just that they couldn't help but be surprised by what happened next. I saw Lin Ke writing on the drawing board. Is MJ still in the current universe? You. Miss America looked astonished and looked at Lin Ke absurdly. Next second, the font on the drawing board dissolves and a word in appears. Lin Ke explained. This is a drawing board of imagination. As long as there is a causal relationship, I can find it. Lan Jingwei's eyes lit up. Can you send us one? We need this very much to handle the case. You're welcome. No. Lin Ke shook his head. Imagination is a very high energy. All right, Lan Jingji agreed. But looking at his eyes, there is a look of eagerness to try, and it seems that he is not so peaceful on the surface. Lin Ke shook his head and said, this is a product of my imagination, not a magic weapon. As he spoke, the drawing board in his hand turned into white smoke with a bang. I see. Lan couldn't hide his disappointment and surprise. Seeing this, Lin Ke chuckled lightly and said, I'll take care of MJ's matter. Thank you for telling me about it. If the room is not cleaned for a long time, there will indeed be dirty things. You. Miss America suddenly looked skeptical. Lan Jingwei's eyes lit up suddenly, and he said, in this way, we will compete with whoever catches MJ first, and if we catch MJ first, you will give us a permanent imaginative drawing board. Lin Ke rubbed his chin and smiled. How long has it been since no one bet against me? The last time was Tony's Battle of Mechs. It was all a few years ago. For a moment, Lin Ke felt a little emotional, nodded and said, okay. Seeing that he agreed, the members of the ultimate team were a little happy. Apparently, Lan Jingwei is not the only one who is fascinated by the imaginative drawing board. Black Panther said, what do you want if we lose? Lin Ke was too calm. This gave Black Panther the feeling that they might lose. Definitely, this is mostly an illusion. Go get Captain Britain's sword and let me play with it. Lin Ke laughed. Okay, it's a deal. Miss America stood up. Lin Ke also stood up and reached out to shake her hand. The two parties have officially reached a bet. Lan Jingwei and the others showed smiles on their faces, and they were sure of winning. It's just a superpower in a remote universe. How strong can it be? By the way, we don't have a place to live. Lan Jingji suddenly hesitated to speak and looked at Miss America. There is a staff dormitory on the 30th floor. You can go there. Sky spoke. Advertisement, then thank you. Waited for the elevator. Lan Jingji suddenly laughed. Living in the same building, it is impossible for Lin Ke and the others to escape his perception no matter what they do. Immediately, he stretched out the power of his mind and went slightly. What happened? The upstairs space seems to be screened off. Lan's surprised expression turned ugly. Why, your little trick didn't work. Black Panther chuckled. Lan was surprised and said in a deep voice, be more serious about this task. Don't let them take the life. Originally, the opponent was an M. Now there is another opponent in disguise. And it seems like a tricky guy. I've already thought of a way. Miss America chuckled lightly, walking at a leisurely pace. Oh. The eyes of Black Panther and others brightened up. I know a Hell Lord in Hell called Nightmare. Haha. As expected of you. Sure enough, at the critical moment, you are still reliable. Mississippi, let's settle the fight tonight. Lin Ke had a weird look on his face. You're trying to eavesdrop on other people's plans. Didn't expect someone to turn around and eavesdrop on you? In other words, it seems that I have not been to Hell for a long time. I don't know how Hela is doing. Lin Ke thought so, and the will came to Hell. Hell still has that barren and terrifying appearance. A city of gray mist crawls on the boundless land. Lin Ke explored the past consciously, but was blocked for a moment. It's quite interesting. Inside the fog city, there are many dimensions stacked layer upon layer. Soon, the right owner was found. Floating island. Hela stands on a majestic statue of herself, overlooking several other floating zones. Suddenly, she seemed to be aware of something and looked towards the sky. Long time no see, Hela. Lin Ke's laughter came from the sky. Hela rolled her eyes. Come out. 2 years is not a long time for a mythical creature. However, Lin Ke's attitude of not even showing her face still made her a little upset. There was a slight fluctuation in the space ahead. Lin Ke appeared out of thin air and said with a smile, Hela, it seems that you are doing well. Hela said definitely. This is definitely. I am the strongest in Hell right now. Territory conquest is no longer interesting. I'm waiting for the Millennium Blood War. After Hell was transformed by Lin Ke, it became more vibrant than before. Because of knowledge sharing, some demons can even leapfrog battles. Cannibalism has also become the norm. In this kind of environment, every Trask combat ability is full. Dozens of multi-level large Mephistas have also appeared one after another. It seems that there are signs of second place among all races. The first is naturally the human race. So that's the case. So are you going to wait like this forever? Lin Ke asked. If not, Hela replied. With the power of Hell that Lin Ke gave her, she is now fully multi-level. There is no creature in Hell to match her. The well-deserved Demon Queen, the only one, is much more prestigious than Lin Ke in the world. Then you have to prepare well. Don't be overwhelmed when the time comes, and ask me to help. Lin Ke laughed. There is a bloody battle in Hell every 3,000 years. At that time, only 10 demons will survive. Gather the resources of the entire Hell and achieve a super diversified chi. Chapter 103. TCH, don't worry about it. My Styx has new Trasks born every moment, loyal to me. Hela laughed disdainfully and said domineeringly, the first bloody battle, I want 99% of the ancestor quota. Lin Ke was non-committal and said with a smile, anyway, Hell is yours now, and you have the final say on how it develops. The bloody battle was set up in the first place to speed up the improvement of the demon's strength, and it was also because of your combative character. Hela nodded, immediately said, you came here this time. What is the matter? Bother you for something? Hela knew this man too well. Lin Ke touched his nose. Can't I come to see you if I have nothing to do? Hela looked disdainful. Do you think I believe it? All right. Lin Ke was speechless. In this respect, he is already a scumbag, has extensive coping experience. The topic was quickly changed. Do you have a lord named Nightmare under your command? I have something to ask him. Hela listened, didn't ask much, summoned a death soldier, and gave an order. The death soldier retreated into the darkness and soon brought back the Nightmare. Nightmare is a pale-skinned man in a high-necked cloak. The strength is not bad, because there is probably a multi-level appearance. 063, it is the first level of the Great Mephista in the demonic system. Lin Ke briefly explained the matter. I've heard a little bit about it. It's not hard to defeat him. Nightmare first said something confidently, and then said, but I may not be able to bring him out. The best result may be to expel him. The dimension of dreams is very wide, and it is not impossible to escape to several multi-universes at once. Lin Ke pondered for a moment, then used imagination and real authority to pinch a rope and hand it to Nightmare. Use this to get him out. Nightmare took the rope of truth. Her eyes lit up. Lin Ke's casual creation is probably the highest level item he has come into contact with in his life. Finish this matter well, and I will hand over the area of Chia Volcano to you. Hela promised, lest the Nightmare mess things up. Been a leader for thousands of years. There are still skills to control. Thank you, Queen. Nightmare quickly thanked. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he said, My lord, Miss America is calling me. Lin Ke smiled and said, Promise her. Nightmare nodded, then bowed, agi, to leave and disappeared. Lin Ke was also planning to leave, but Hela grabbed him with inexplicable eyes. You are the creator of hell anyway, so let's take a look at what hell looks like now. Hela said. Lin Ke thought so, sent a message to Sky and the others, and followed Hela into the palace. I have divided hell into 7 realms. Hela sat at a long table. The desktop screen changes, showing the current general landscape of hell. These 7 domains are currently under my jurisdiction. The main hostile target now is the dimensional space in the outer layer of hell. They are some old parties, hiding in their own territory, which is more troublesome. Hela crossed her legs and introduced eloquently. Lin Ke listened very carefully. She is not usually a person who likes to perfunctory others. Now that I've said to listen to Hela, I won't be fooling around. Advertisement. This is the River Styx, the birthplace of all newborn demons. There will be 1 or 2 hatching tides every day, and at least 100 million demons will be born at a time, and one of them will eventually become the demon Allah. Hela points to a great river that runs through the 7 realms. Zoom in on the big river, and you can see the devil eggs floating in the river. Speaking of this, Hela said proudly, do you know how powerful my army is? There are countless lords, 360 persons of Allah, 70 emperors. Big Mephisto 21. I will completely surpass you in less than 10,000 years. Hela seemed to be trying to prove something. Hell's potential, I see. Lin Ke felt that it was absolutely right to hand hell over to Hela. Every citizen of hell can be said to be the strongest fighter. With Hela's current strength, it is completely possible to launch a war that will affect the entire multi-domain. Hela smiled slightly when she heard Lin Ke say that. She's not trying to prove how capable she is. Instead, I want to say that what I lost, I must take it back with my own hands. Lin Ke hasn't bullied her for a long time. She is a little floating. What I want to tell you is that I am not the Hela I used to be, Hela said freely. But if I take back your rights, you won't be able to mobilize the demons. Lin Ke looked strange and glanced at the chair under Hela's buttocks. This chair is exactly the throne of hell he created. It is precisely because Hela sits on it that she has this supreme right. Hela froze and said, I have a plan. I plan to wait until after the first bloody battle to absorb the origin of those primordial demons, so that my life origin will not be weaker than you cosmic entities. Lin Ke nodded in approval. Maybe it will be stronger than Chuangshishen. After all, in his budget, a demon ancestor should have super diverse strengths. Like the Trask Big Devil, if you are lucky, if you don't meet a strong opponent, you can destroy a planet. A demon lord who probably has the power to rule the galaxy. The demon Allah rules a universe. A demon king who can rule multiple universes. King Mephisto, multi-level. The ancestors of the demons, that is, the 10 survivors after the bloody battle, will absorb all the power of the demons and stabilize the super multi-level. These are all within Lin Ke's plan. The only thing that surprised him was that Hela was able to incorporate hell so quickly without asking him for help. So what are you going to say? Lin Ke remained calm. Hela obviously has some purpose. I want to tell you one thing, no, or a deal as a partner. Hela looked at Lin Ke as condescendingly as possible. What deal? Lin Ke asked curiously. Hela, I want you to help strengthen the throne of hell. I'm afraid I won't be able to suppress those primordial demons then. Lin Ke rolled his eyes. Why do you still think? In the end, I still have to help myself. After Hela finished speaking, she said arrogantly again. Why? You don't want to? I can give you what you want afterwards. My purgatory world has all kinds of treasures. This tone. A partner for a while, a traitor for a while. It's just against the sky. Lin Ke looked at Hela strangely. You don't mean to do this on purpose? You want me to punish you? Chapter 104. Back out. Hela's slender arms supporting the table softened and fell to the ground. The dark green dress is dyed in a new color. Lin Ke nodded in satisfaction. Right. I will help you with your request. I won't teach you with a rope this time. Change into healthy clothes next time. Your leather skirt is a bit rough and cold. Lin Ke perfectly interprets what it means to be strict afterwards, selfless. Hole. Hela felt a great shame. It brought her back to the days when she was a puppy 2 years ago. Gugu she hurriedly raised her hand to stop the stream. Immediately became more angry. Don't be like this. I will correct you in the future. Lin Ke felt that this sentence was scumbag. Do you think I'll trust you? Hela gritted her teeth and said angrily. Lin Ke shook his head, walked towards the throne of hell, and strengthened it. Woman. Obviously, more tricks have been played before. Now he is more reserved. It really feels like role-playing. Thinking of cosplay, Lin Ke decided to prepare some cosplay suits for Sky and the others in the future. Thinking about it boredly in my mind, the strengthening of the throne of hell has already been completed. Lin Ke saw that Hela was still lying on the ground, speechless. It won't be the same as a child. Won't you help it up? That's really wronged you. Lin Ke stepped forward, helped Hela up and said, Okay, the strengthening is over. It's 100% okay. And it also comes with an absorption function. Hela didn't seem to respond to these words. Her face was red, and she didn't know what she was thinking. After a while, she struggled and said, I'm not pregnant, am I? Lin Ke. Lin Ke was stunned for a moment, then shook his head hesitantly. Probably not. In the past, in order to prevent people from learning the scriptures, Wei Xiao created a bunch of Superman clones and so on. He created a magical power that does not have the soul. It's just that after becoming a creation god, it is almost useless, because no one can take his body tissue without his permission, and he doesn't usually lose his hair. As for that aspect, what he wanted was a tainted pleasure, and he didn't try to restrain it. With his current physique, unless it can be adjusted, there is no possibility of having children. To have children is to perpetuate, and Lin Ke's own immortality is full, so there is no need to have children. Eternity has 9 children, but that is not conceived with women, but self. And he was born as a concept god, negative entropy, explosion, hatred, and so on. Then what if there is? Hela said in a little girlish manner. Very rare. Lin Ke shook his head and said, No. As he said that, just to be on the safe side, he disintegrated the contents of Hela's stomach. I haven't had enough fun. How can I let my son come out? And when he gives birth to a child, most likely he will give birth to a child with an extremely monstrous ability. It can be described as mixed. The advantage is that I can help my father. The downside is that you can't beat your father. Sensing the movement in the body, Hela's face turned cold as if his face changed. You still don't leave. What are you doing here? Advertisement. Lin Ke clicked his tongue and quickly slipped away. Gods also have menstrual periods? Earth. Miss America conjures a nightmare. Long time no see, demon. She was the first to say hello. Nightmare nodded and said with a smile, You actually think of me? It's really strange. Miss America smiled. Don't say that. We are old acquaintances. Isn't it normal to be tight? But this time I really have something to trouble you. You know we can't catch him. Now he's hiding in the dimension of dreams. You're an expert at this, so we'd like to ask you a favor. After hearing this, Ming Ming sneered again and again. Come on, we know each other, but we are not old acquaintances. Tell me about your reward, and it must satisfy me. Today is a good day. You can eat too. The nightmare blossomed happily in my heart. Miss America shook her head. Hey, look at what you said. If you encounter trouble in the future, don't we help you? Don't you need us to rescue you at a critical moment? Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and others all put their hands on their shoulders and looked calm. 0*. Miss America's eloquence and coordination are the strongest in the team. Once relying on one mouth, he just fooled into the eternal mask of eternity. The eternal mask can give the wearer the same power as the enemy, forcing a 50-50 split, which is very buggy. I am sure. Nightmare's answer was beyond the expectation of the team members. Black Panther directly raised his eyebrows. Aren't you afraid of being caught by some magician one day? Nightmare heard this and sneered. My current backer is His Majesty Hela. Who dares to kill me? The fact is, after this time, he must have completely broken up with the ultimate team. It's almost like being an enemy, so he can still be saved by the opponent. 0-0 This is difficult. Nightmare doesn't accept empty promises, so it can only give real things. How is this different from cutting your own flesh? Miss America looked embarrassed and looked at the other team members. Everyone subconsciously avoided looking away. In the end, Lin Ke sighed, took out a spar from his bosom, and said, "This is the cosmic energy condensed from quasars, and it should be enough for you to take one shot." A quasar is a certain cosmic superpower and one of the Avengers, capable of extracting an almost inexhaustible amount of energy from the quantum realm. "Well, when did you get it from him?" Spectrum raised an eyebrow. "He lost a bet to me last time," Intercept explained, and handed the spar to Nightmare. "Bring it to you." Nightmare grinned and snatched the spar. After getting paid, he started to work. Let Miss America fall asleep first, and after MJJ appears, he will enter Miss America's dreamland. Dream world. MJ was wearing a checkered suit, holding a cup of coffee, and sitting in a leisurely posture. Across from me sits Miss America, now being tied to a stool. "I didn't expect you to come here after all." MJ took a sip of hot coffee and smiled playfully. Just when he was about to do something to Miss America, Nightmare appeared in the dream world, dangling a rope in his hand, smiling. Chapter 105. A few minutes later, after some fighting, MJ was tied out of the dream dimension. "Great." Spectrum cheers. Now they can not only win Lin Ke's imaginative drawing board, but also get paid by Merlin. What is a win-win situation? This is a win-win situation. The kind that wins twice. "Okay, I should go too." Nightmare laughed. "Uh-huh." Miss America nodded. Just as I was about to say thank you, I saw Ming Ming hugging him, and the two disappeared together. The ultimate team stared wide-eyed. "Nightmare." The roar resounded through the building. "Keek keek." Lan Jingwei swears wildly for a while, and looks at Miss America. "What should I do now?" Captain Marvel also looked at Miss America with an angry 447 expression. "Go to hell now and catch that guy." Miss America has the ability to shuttle in multiple ways. Go to hell easy. Miss America's complexion was dark, and her bulging breasts rose and fell. Never imagined. It was actually set by Nightmare. It seems that it will be impossible not to teach him a lesson this time. We are not professionals in magic arts, so we are looking for the Zumba of this earth. Miss America remained calm. Hell is no smaller than a dream dimension. No one who knows how to lead the way is no different from a headless fly. Good. As soon as Blue closed his eyes in surprise, he began to perceive the location of Kamartosh. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Black Panther went to open the door. Lin Ke and Nightmare are standing outside the door. Besides, there's an MJ. Black Panther was dumbfounded. "Hey, have you forgotten me so soon?" Nightmare looked like he didn't want to fight, and said with a smile. Miss America and the others also saw the situation here, and were immediately furious. Lan Jingji let out a low shout, and with Mephisto-like mental power, he directly crushed the Nightmare. However, there seemed to be some isolation field in that area. His mental power was like a mud cow entering the sea, without causing any waves. How can it be? Lan was surprised and his face turned pale. "Okay, let's go in." Lin Ke laughed. "Black Panther is moving. Not to give in, but to grab him." On the way, his hand was grabbed by Lin Ke. "Why? Don't you care?" Lin Ke said calmly. People from the ultimate team came over, short of breath. Some couldn't accept this fact, and looked angrily at Nightmare. "You two are on the same team?" Miss America asked aloud, and then said, "This competition is not counted. We caught first." Nightmare spread out her hands and said, "Please, if it wasn't for the Supreme Being's order, I wouldn't have done anything for you. Besides, I didn't say I would help you from the beginning to the end." Advertisement. The rope to tie MJ was given to me by the Supreme Lord. Miss America wanted to say something more. Pu Guang grabbed her arm and whispered a few words. Miss America's complexion changed. She stared at Lin Ke and asked, "Are you the Creator Supreme?" As soon as this statement comes out, the faces of the rest of the ultimate team members also changed. Lin Ke nodded and smiled. "Isn't it like that? How does this look like it? Among the other creation gods, which one is not strange in appearance? You are just like a normal person." Lan Jingji cursed in his heart. Miss America had a quick change of heart, saying, "Sorry, we didn't know this was your place." Lin Ke shook his head and walked into the house on his own. "There is no real estate. I just lived here for a long time." Others followed. Seeing that several people wanted to resolve the conflict, MJJ became anxious and shouted, "Miss America, you are too cowardly. I was clearly trapped by you. This bad old man is very bad and wants Lin Ke to fight the ultimate team. The ultimate team fell on deaf ears. Just kidding. Let them face a creator god. Whoever wants to go can go. As we all know, Supreme has no duplication. So this handsome young man in front of him is the Supreme body. Isn't he just a kid? What are you afraid of? Take me away. MJ continued to shout. A wild and strong man like him doesn't even have the concept of a creator god. Just like Sun Wukong after learning art, it is certain that he will be beaten violently. Lin Ke thought he was annoying, so he made his mouth disappear. In the aspect of alter reality alone, Lin Ke beat him by thousands of miles. Lon was amazed when they saw this scene. They were afraid to make a sound. In the end, Miss America said, "Can you give him JJ to us?" Lin Ke didn't hold back MJ, saying, "Of course it's not a problem, but can you deal with him?" Miss America felt relieved. "Don't worry, we will hand him over to Merlin as soon as possible. As long as Lin Ke doesn't leave MJ behind, then it's easy to say anything." Although they lost the bet, they were considered to have completed Merlin's mission. Seeing this, Lin Ke took back the rope of truth. Suddenly, a mouth grew out of MJ's face. "No, you can't do this to me. I'm a free citizen. I don't want to see some damn Merlin." Seeing that Captain Marvel and Lan Jingwei went into battle together, and they still looked like they couldn't hold MJ, Lin Ke had no choice but to tie the rope of truth back. Thank you, Miss America." As she spoke, she took out a business card from her pocket, handed it to Lin Ke, and said with a bright smile, "This is our brand. The ultimate team. Solve the ultimate problem. You will use us sooner or later." Lin Ke 5.7 was speechless. This business is pulled. He reached out for the card. The business card can be used to contact Miss America remotely, even if the multi-universe is on it. The underlying structure is actually quantum technology. Thinking of this, Lin Ke remembered that he hadn't been to the quantum realm for a long time. "Then let's go first. We will send you the sword and the stone later." Miss America stood up and said, "Walk slowly." Lin Ke nodded. Ultimate team is gone. Afterwards, Nightmare left tactfully. Holding the business card, Lin Ke murmured, "The ultimate team, the ultimate question? I don't know if it's okay to let them engage in the heart of the universe. In fact, you can try it. After all, the protagonist still has a certain amount of luck." Lin Ke put away his business card and entered the quantum realm. Chapter 106. Starlight Castle. Outside an endless chessboard stood an old man with a white beard. It was Merlin. Through the chessboard, he observed every plane in the almighty universe. Sometimes you can also manipulate chess pieces to change the historical trend of the multi-universe. A beautiful woman with ponytails stood aside, saw Merlin moving the chess piece, and persuaded, "Father, you can't shape the fate of others. It's not fair to life." Merlin smiled lightly. The ultimate team caught him, didn't they? Rome. Sometimes people can't be too rigid. Otherwise, there is no way to maintain the order and balance of the universe. I asked you to recruit heroes. How are you doing? Rome frowned. Another persuasion failed. Father always liked to play with those chess pieces. She shook her head and said, "I have no idea. She and Captain Britain are currently the only two members of the Holy Sword Squad. What do you think of this, Lin Ke?" Merlin suddenly smiled. "Father, he is the god of creation and has his own responsibilities." Roman forehead wrote, "Because he is the god of creation, so he is qualified to join the Holy Sword team. And, do you think he seems to be busy all day long?" Merlin looked for something on the chessboard and said with a light smile, "Do you think people will join us?" Rome was very speechless. "Why not?" Merlin's eyes lit up, and he found the chess piece he wanted. The chess piece is wearing a cloak and magic armor, and it is Dr. Doom. He must really want to reach the omnipotent realm now. We can use this to hook him. Merlin's smile was secretive, showing a bit of cunning. As he said that, the Dr. Destroyer chess piece in his hand moved to its proper position. "Why?" Rome sighed. "Maybe I really should find some strong teammates, let you retire early." Merlin laughed out loud upon hearing this. "Miss America and the others are here. I will pick them up." Rome left with a flick of her ponytail. After Rome left, Merlin smiled, picked up a chess piece that looked like Lin Ke, and placed it beside the Roman chess piece. Ginger is still old and spicy. Rome is big too. It is very difficult for the immortals to have offspring, and Lin Ke just fits the bill. Just when the old guy was secretly complacent, Lin Ke's pieces are back in place. Merlin stared, picked up the Lin Ke chess piece again, and placed it next to Rome. The chess pieces go back to their original positions again. Merlin's complexion suddenly turned ugly, and he rolled up his sleeves, wanting to get the chess piece again. The chess piece disappeared immediately. Merlin was numb. Is this angry and ran off the board? Is there still such an operation? Fortunately, after a while, Lin Ke's chess pieces came back again. Merlin went to get it again, and found that some of them would not move. Forcibly exerting force, the chess piece shakes violently. In the end, Merlin was also helpless. He has never encountered such a thing in his life. I can only suffer for the other chess pieces. Merlin had no choice but to move several chess pieces one after another, forming a line between Rome and Lin Ke, like building a bridge. Phew, that's enough. Merlin breathed a sigh of relief. It's been a long time since I've been so tired. Advertisement almost made a fool of myself. At this time, footsteps came from outside the hall. Merlin covered the chessboard and looked up. Rome brought the ultimate team and a group of people, followed by a British captain. Meet you again, Merlin Necromancer. Everyone in the ultimate team smiled brightly. Can you not be happy to receive mission rewards? People brought it here. Miss America rubbed her nose with a proud expression and threw the MJ in her hand to the ground. Well done. Merlin smiled and nodded. His eyes filled with affirmation. After rambling a few words, Lon couldn't hold back his surprise and asked, "What reward are you talking about?" Merlin smiled and said, "Isn't the experience of your trip the greatest reward? Traveled multiple dimensions. I also made friends with the god of creation. It's not all valuable life experience. Goddamn precious life experience. The ultimate team will not accept this." Black Panther exasperated. "So you're lying to us?" I really annoyed this magic stick group, not to mention Merlin. Even if the life tribunal comes, they will turn their backs. Merlin smiled and said, "Young people are just anxious. Can you guarantee that you won't need my help when you encounter trouble in the future? Don't you need me to rescue you at a critical moment?" Miss America's face was burning red. "Isn't this what I said to Nightmare?" "Don't worry. My old man won't fool you," Merlin said deeply. "I have already blessed your fate, and the troubles in the future will be turned into good luck. I think this is the best reward for you." Immediately, the anger of Miss America and others disappeared. "This reward is really good. Better than any artifact." Miss America rolled her eyes and looked at Captain Britain. "It's all about you. If you didn't let MJ run away, we wouldn't have to work so hard." Captain Marvel and the others moved a little closer to Miss America. "What does it have to do with me?" Faced with this blatant accusation, Captain Britain was stunned. "Definitely has something to do with you. We almost died at the hands of the Supreme." Miss America snatched the sword in the stone. 790 opened the star-shaped portal and got in. Black Panther and others followed immediately. Before the star-shaped portal disappeared, the words of Miss America came out. "Lend me to play for 2 days as compensation, and I will return it to you later." Captain Britain is empty-handed. Wants to cry but has no tears. Merlin chuckled. Rome asked, "Father, have you really blessed them?" Merlin laughed and said, "It's up to people." Rome's mouth twitched. "Scheming. I can't believe a word of my father's words. You went deep into the quantum realm, promoted to the first control sequence, and obtained supernatural power quantum I. Supernatural quantum I. You can observe and analyze anything in the quantum field at the same time. Distance from the final sequence. 1%. Lin Ke returns to the real world. After the breakthrough of the quantum Superman cultivation method, Lin Ke felt that he was a little bit closer to the omnipotent level. What is the all-around class? That is, the level of life court and phoenix force. For the level above, Lin Ke calls it the transcendent level. That is, the level of transcendence. Can slaughter phoenix force and life court. Thinking of this, Lin Ke felt that it was necessary to visit the little brother. Hope it's not too hard. Chapter 107. Transcendent's current reputation has plummeted, like falling into an abyss. Tony intends to take care of the transcendent and let the transcendent avoid the limelight. But seeing the overwhelming chaos outside and the strong condemnation of him, he escaped from the Avengers base and started a wandering life alone. He doesn't want to see anyone now, because anyone could be laughing at him, staring at him, and hating him. He lived up to everyone's expectations. The good deeds done in the past all turned into nothingness on the day the mask was torn off. He curled up in the alley. Columns of people outside are marching. The slogan is against superhero and down the transcendent. New York is free. Tony never stopped that. Maybe I'm really just a joker. The transcendent was dirty all over, and his hairstyle was messed up, which was very different from his original glamorous appearance. He ran out this time because he wanted to see for himself what the people thought of him. The result was a blow to him. There was no support for him at all. Student Xiao Xiao, it's time to go home. Suddenly, a palm patted his shoulder. The transcendent reacted like a frightened rabbit. It was Lin Ke who came. I'm not a transcendent. You've got the wrong person. The transcendent panicked and quibbled. Any fool can see his guilty conscience and unnaturalness. Lin Ke pointed to the smartwatch that transcendent always wears. The transcender quickly covered it up and continued to quibble. This is the same watch as the transcender I bought. Lin Ke was speechless and immediately smiled in relief. The transcendent is still the big boy. Come home with me. Lin Ke spoke. He suddenly didn't want to go on like this anymore. Not everyone has to go through pain and trials. Like him, Lin Ke was never an ascetic. Brother, is it really possible? Tears welled up from the transcendent. Lin Ke opened his hands and gave the transcendent a hug. The transcendents burst into tears. Lin Ke let go of the superhero and asked, "Do you still want to be a superhero?" The transcendent nodded without hesitation. "I want to." Lin Ke thought for a while, then asked again, "How about you take back your divine power, so that you can do whatever you want?" The transcendent hesitated for a moment and said, "No." Lin Ke heard the words, put his shoulders on the shoulders of the transcendent, and led him to the pocket universe. This pocket universe stores the energy storage instrument and the life creation instrument. You really don't want to get your power back? Get him, and you can get out of the current situation. Lin Ke bewitched. The transcendent looked at the energy storage meter with a trace of longing in his eyes, but he was quickly suppressed. Don't, brother, don't be hungry. What if we go back to the original days? The day when everything can only be imitated, but not felt. I can endure endless darkness, but only if I don't see the light. Lin Ke nodded and said solemnly, "Can I use these powers?" It is not difficult to mobilize supernatural power, but he has never done it. Because there is no permission of the transcendent. Definitely can. The transcendent nodded generously, without taking it seriously. Advertisement Lin Ke's expression became more serious, and he said seriously, "Little brother, I want your Li Huang now." Immediately, the transcendent showed confusion, and before he could ask, Lin Ke continued, "True power. In the timeline of the original work, every time a transcendent appears, he will have the quirk of fulfilling other people's wishes. Once Dr. Doom met the transcendents and asked the transcendents to give him all the power. The transcendent did so and became an ordinary person. But in the end, with a single thought, he took the ability back. There is no such thing as logic in the transcendent. Paradoxes such as the inability of Almighty God to create a rock he cannot lift or draw a triangular circle do not work for him. The essence of the transcendent is to surpass all these and belong to the field of OA. So no matter how Lin Ke observes, he can't understand the true power zone of the transcendent, because the so-called transcendence of divine power is simply an appearance. Even if your savvy is high, you can't understand a person you haven't seen with just one breath. Real power? After hearing this, the transcendent frowned deeply. This seemed to be something hidden in his instinct, the last thing he wanted to reveal. Just like people don't jump off a cliff when they see it. But in the end, he overcame this instinct, stretched out his fingertips, and a drop of liquid without any color appeared. Lin Ke's breath was stagnant, and he felt a breath of death. If the universe represents chaos, life represents order. Then this drop of liquid is absolute nothingness, pure without even the law, beyond everything. Yes, that's it. Will you give it to me? Maybe it will damage your origin. Lin Ke took a deep breath. Definitely. Take it away, brother. I will give you whatever you want. The transcendent bared his white teeth and smirked. Big brother seems to want it. Get this, Big brother is satisfied? In this case, I am also happy. Lin Ke reached out to take the drop of liquid and put it into his body. It was difficult for him to calm down, and he looked at the transcendent with complicated eyes. Then this complexity, also metamorphosis, becomes a kind of purity. He bit his thumb and said firmly, "Blood is a bond. You will be my brother from now on." The transcendent has seen this kind of ceremony in the documentary and immediately did the same thing. The thumbs and Lin Ke's thumbs are together, and then hold tightly. Go out, get out of here, and experience your world. Lin Ke opened a portal leading to the outside world. At the end, he couldn't help reminding, "You were surrounded by goodness before, and you have never seen the evil of life. Now you are being targeted with malice all over the world. If so, you still want to stay in the real world, then I will help you become the complete you want." The transcendent has experienced only goodness before. This is not acceptable. The reason is also very simple. By Wang Zhao, there are too many evils in this world. You have supernatural powers, and you can't avoid the presence of malice. Brother, come and see me more in the future. The transcendent is gone. Walk very firmly. I will never let you have that tragic end again. Lin Ke's eyes were deep, and he said silently in his heart, stronger than any oath. The final ending of the original transcendent is extremely miserable. After experiencing a series of events, he metamorphosed into the universe and resurrected in his own universe. He wanted to forget everything that happened in the Marvel universe, but the Fantastic Four came to his universe. Kobik, the incarnation of the cosmic cube, knocked him to the ground several times. There is no doubt that the transcendent is getting weaker and weaker. Finally, under the flickering of Dr. Doom, Molecule Man and others, the transcendent believed what they said. I am the incarnation of the defective cosmic cube made by the Protoss, and finally turned into a cosmic cube. Chapter 108. The transcendent left the pocket universe and appeared in that alley. What to do? He already has an idea. Jingwei. He called softly. He hadn't called that name for a long time. I am here. Jingwei's screen lighted up, revealing an image of a Q version of a young lady. Smiling, Yu Yanran said, I've always been here. Immediately, the transcendent had the urge to cry again, and at the same time, deep guilt surged in his heart. Sorry, I didn't chat with you before. He apologized under his breath, although Jingwei is just an artificial intelligence. It's all right, master. Jingwei smiled. The transcendent took a deep breath and said, Please send me a task. Good sir. Jingwei's tone was light and joyful. Immediately, a daily quest is displayed on the transcendent's watch. Daily task. Clean up, arranging your own clothes and keeping them clean and tidy. Seeing the task content, the transcendent smiled. That familiar feeling returned. He remembered the days when he was a security guard. At that time, 007 was very happy when he was assigned every task. Just when he was about to go to a hotel, the noise of the day burst into the room. Several youths were pushing and shoving an emaciated teenager. F***cum, there are still transcendent fans now? A young man with a flower arm cursed angrily and pushed the young man to the ground. The figure of the transcendent, who wanted to go far, paused slightly. Damn God of Chef, those superheroes are so proud just because you are such an idiot fan. Several young people kicked violently. The boy held his head and said nothing. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth soon. Hey, look at his phone. Suddenly, a dark chocolate's eyes lit up. Several people stopped their actions and found that the mobile phone that the teenager dropped from his pocket was a co-branded model of Transcendence. From the Guild of Heroes. It used to fetch $10,000. Even if the value is depreciated now, it is worth $2,000 to $3,000. Seeing that his companions had no objection to the dark chocolate, he immediately reached out to grab it. No, this is a gift from my mother. As if being touched against the scales, the boy gripped the phone tightly and yelled, Go to hell, you scum. Dark chocolate is very experienced and kicks above the teenagers. However, the boy still wiped his phone tightly. Several young people joined forces to remove his hand. This is what happens when you like superhero. Dark chocolate was very satisfied after getting the phone, and he didn't forget to step on the banner a few times before leaving. I saw a line of characters written on the banner. Believe in the transcendent with just 5 words. He encountered this injustice and atrocity. The boy struggled to get up, picked up the banner, couldn't help it anymore, and cried out loud. Don't cry. I'll help you get your phone back. Advertisement at this time. A figure ran past him, extremely fast. When the boy turned his head, he could only see a figure with curly hair from the back. Suddenly, the whole shrank. This person is like a transcendent. He knows Transcendence very, very well and is a diehard fan. Otherwise, he would not come out to stand for the Transcendent at this time. The Transcendent swears that he has never felt like he ran so fast. Even in its heyday. Catch them. Be sure to catch them. Transcenders, let's run. The Transcendent rushed into the crowd, and after an unknown amount of time, he finally saw the backs of several young people from a distance. Immediately, he rushed forward without hesitation. BCBG, stop! The Transcendent roared. Everyone is attracted to him. This person looks like a transcendent. Impossible. Looking at his appearance, he may have been taught a lesson because he looks like a transcendent. It deserves it. Who told him to go out at this time? The transcendent ignored people's arguments and ran into the dark chocolate like a bull. Although he didn't use any skills, but with his extraordinary physique, he still knocked the dark chocolate several meters away. FK, what are you doing? Dark chocolate's companion got angry, so he decided to attack bravely. The Transcendent held his fist and knocked everyone down to the ground. This attacker, please stop quickly. I have already called the police, and the peacekeeping robot will come soon. A woman spoke up. Many people took out their mobile phones and took pictures of this scene. The Transcendent stepped forward to pick up the boy's mobile phone and quickly fled here. After going around several times, he returned to the original alley. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he was out of breath. Here you are. The Transcendent propped his knees with one hand and handed the phone to the boy. The young man took the phone, carefully looked at the face of the Transcendent, and finally confirmed it. You are the Transcendent. The Transcendent grinned, pointing his thumb at himself. That's right. Immediately, the boy became excited and grabbed the Transcendent's hand, fearing that he would leave. I finally saw you in person. Thank you, Beyonder. My name is Andy. The Transcendent was stunned. He didn't know why the boy thanked him, but he still said, Thank you for supporting me. Trust me, I will get better. My strength will be back soon, I promise. With that said, he was about to leave. However, Andy didn't let go, and said with a gleam in his eyes, Transcender, you probably have nowhere to go now, right? The Transcendent paused. And indeed it is. He didn't want to go back to his former home for the time being, and now he has no place to stay. Why don't you go to my house now? I have a vacant house. Andy spoke quickly. If you go out like this, you will definitely be recognized. The Transcendent looked at Andy's expectant look, couldn't bear to refuse, and nodded. At this moment, the Transcendent felt a surge of power in his body, and the injuries on his body were healed, and he looked down at Jingwei. Urgent mission. Punish our and eliminate evil has been completed. Reward 10 power. Andy was shocked when he saw this miraculous scene. Chapter 109. Ghetto. Detached house. The house looks a little old. It's just me and my grandfather at home. Andy opened the door and said. The Transcendent nodded and asked casually, Where are your parents? Andy was silent for a moment. No wonder, he said. I am a single-parent family, and my mother died of illness 3 months ago. The Transcendent looked embarrassed and whispered, I'm sorry. Seeing that Andy didn't speak, he quickly said, I will find a way to make your mother live in summer. Andy smiled, shook his head and said, You don't need to comfort me, Transcendent. It is because of you that I survived the most difficult time. Andy's smile is very simple and sunny. The Transcendent felt a little dazzling for a while. After the two entered the room, the Transcendent went to take a shower. When he came out with the towels on, he found that Andy had prepared a set of clothes for him. Pure white, it was exactly the same as the clothes he wore the day he defeated Galactus and became famous. Transcender, do you plan to be a superhero in the future? Seeing the Transcendents come out, Andy asked the question he had always wanted to ask. Definitely. Transcendent's answer was simple, but it was also in line with Cindy's wishes. He stood up from the sofa excitedly. I knew you would not be knocked down. Immediately afterwards, he added. Then do you have any comeback plans? The Transcendent shook his head and said, No. What he thought before was to do the task, get enough strength, and then prove it to the world. But after helping Cindy, his idea was instantly shaken. It seems that I can be a superhero while being a daily guest. This may improve even faster. I think you can recover your strength while being a superhero. Andy's words coincided with the thoughts of the Transcendent. He took out a mask and said, Put it on in the future. After you use this identity to become famous, and then reveal your identity, I believe the public will accept you. The Transcendent stared blankly at the white mask. He had never worn such a thing before, but maybe it was just what he needed. It is obviously not a good idea to act in his original capacity now. You have a good idea. The Transcendent took the mask and smiled. Andy laughed too. Just when the two were about to talk about something, the ceiling suddenly lit up with a red light. Andy's complexion changed. He rushed up to the second floor without thinking about what to say. Second floor. An old man was lying on a bed with a ventilator inserted into his nose, convulsing all over his body. Andy's grandpa has a very serious old age disease. Grandfather. The Transcendent heard Andy's anxious cry and quickly came to the second floor. Then he saw this scene. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. Emergency mission. Rescue, use your power to save Andy's grandpa. Jingwei gave the task. The overwhelmed heart of the Transcendent settled down, stepped forward, and said firmly, "Let me try." Andy's tears blurred, and he took a step back subconsciously. "Brother, lend me your strength." The Transcendent prayed nervously, and then put his hands on the old man's body. Next second, the look thing happened. The old man's breathing became steady, and his expression became visibly comfortable to the naked eye. Advertisement, Andy. Lin Ke sighed. The members of the ultimate team arrived and presented the sword in the stone. Lin Ke began to study carefully. 3 days later, you have observed and studied the sword in the stone for a long time and discovered its mystery, and you have an epiphany of splitting law. Split law, the power of law contained in the omnipotent universe. You came into contact with the division law, realized a lot, and created Blade of Genesis. Condensed and divided power of law, the power can split the omnipotent universe. Lin Ke raised his hand, and his fingertips were smudged with invisible law. So Merlin and the others are practicing power of law? The power of law is a very powerful force in the omnipotent universe. It's just that in the Marvel universe, there are not many people who practice it. Magicians like Ancient One borrow magic power. The gods of creation, on the other hand, are cosmic entities and have nothing to do with law. This is also Lin Ke's first serious exposure to power of law. With a slight movement of Lin Ke's fingertips, in the void, several dead universes were cut and exploded directly. Ask for flowers. With Lin Ke's thought, a panda from the Oriental Zoo appeared in the room. Cute love. Lin Ke's eyes warmed up, and his power of law aimed at the panda. Immediately, the panda's soul was divided into 2 parts, and then emotions, rationality, and thinking were also divided into 2 parts, or even thousands of parts. Can such a conceptual thing be cut? Lin Ke's heart was heavy. Then he found that he repaired the panda with his thoughts, but it didn't work. It is still divided. He had no choice but to go back in time to 30 seconds ago. Panda reverts to its original state. It's just that the expression is terrified, like some great horror encountered. Lin Ke shrunk it down, held it in his hand for a while, and gave it the 3 abilities of immortality, teleportation, and no hunger, and then released it back into the wild with some reluctance. 0-0, maybe I should get a panda, Lin Ke thought to himself. The other side. People from the Ultimate Team are playing around a strange creature. Venom, do you want to eat it? Miss America held a piece of chocolate in her hand, soaked through the venom. Please, just give Venom something good. Poro-like Venom nodded fiercely, drooling all over the floor. Goodness see you. Since Venom was adopted, he really hasn't eaten a few good meals. At the beginning, everyone regarded it as a treasure and liked to play with it. After that, no one paid attention to it. The Lin Ke family also often goes to Paradise Island. At that time, it can only stay at home alone and cannot go anywhere. I belonged to mixing with Lin Ke, and I was very hungry. Sometimes in order to compete for the leftovers, I even play games with intelligent robots. No way. Who told everyone to define it at the beginning as a garbage disposal? It's not good if you don't eat. It's been a long time since I saw a big tonic like chocolate. If you want to eat, just call me sister, Miss America said. Elder sister. Venom has no morals at all. Ha ha ha, I won't even call my sister. Never would I have thought that Miss America was even more unscrupulous, throwing chocolate into her mouth with a flick of her hand, proud of herself. Chapter 110. Ha 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 ha, a happy atmosphere filled the room. The symbiote is often an enemy of the Ultimate Team in the multi-universe. To be honest, it was also the first time they had seen such a miserable symbiosis. It's okay to be treated as a pet. The key point is that the life of this pet is not very good, not as good as cats and dogs. Woo! The Venom tears big and big, pretending to be pitiful. Because Cindy and the others ordered not to get angry with humans, so he can only do this. Forehead. Miss America was taken aback. Everyone stopped laughing. Why do you feel like you're bullying a child? Lon scratched his head in surprise and said, Do you want some potato chips? I'll give you some. With that said, he threw a few potato chips to Venom. Whoa, I want to eat chocolate. Venom continued to cry. At this moment, Aspect opened 273, and Lin Ke and Cindy walked in. Venom immediately stopped crying and went under the sofa. This is the man. I cast magic on myself to make myself like this. My lord, here we come. Miss America greeted immediately. After staying here for 2 days, she felt extremely peaceful. Lin Ke smiled, sat on the sofa, and handed the sword in the stone to Miss America. I've used it up, so I'll give it back to you. Miss America nodded, opened the multiple portals, and casually threw the sword and the stone into it. Hey! Immediately, on the other side of the portal, Captain Britain, who was hit in the head by the sword and the stone, yelled. Miss America clapped her hands and quickly closed the portal before Captain Britain could react. Miss America, are you going to leave now? Cindy sat next to Miss America and asked aloud. Definitely no. Miss America shook her head. After finally going out for a vacation, how can I go back easily? Isn't that pure cattle and horses? Cindy's eyes lit up. Then let me take you to the mech city for a while, where you can drive mechs. Miss America continued to shake her head and said, Sister, now New York is full of parades. Cindy thought so too. Let's hope Tony can sort this out sooner rather than later. A flash of inspiration flashed in her mind, and she asked for advice. How do you solve this kind of problem? The Ultimate Team has been to many worlds, and they should have encountered similar things. Spectrum spread his hands and said, There is no solution. Cindy clicked her tongue. Is there no world that can handle the relationship between ordinary people and extraordinary people? Lon was surprised and unpredictable. Chaos is the ladder to ascend, and every life is instinctively seeking a way to ascend. They travel across many planes. There are countless weird things I have seen, but so far no world can be called completely peaceful. After reflection, they can be considered to have touched a little bit of the rules of the world. Captain Marvel also said with emotion, War cannot be eliminated. If you want to get along with war, it is tantamount to letting life give up evolution. Good. Cindy was a little lost. Lin Ke touched her head to show comfort. Absolute justice can, but there is no absolute fairness. If there is unfairness, there will be a gap, and if there is a gap, there will be contradictions. Let's change a topic. Miss America waved her hand, pulled out the venom from under the sofa, and said with a smile, I want to ask where you caught the venom, and give me a fix too. The Ultimate Team has a venom. Very interesting. Fun. Advertisement, he wasn't born that way. Cindy was a little proud, and took a look at Lin Ke. It's because Lin Ke used magic. Magic? Miss America understands. It is not surprising that Chuangshi God uses anything. The area covered by authority is all round. If you want it, I'll make one for you, as a meeting gift. Lin Ke laughed. Miss America said in surprise, Really? Lin Ke smiled. This kind of thing is nothing to him at all. With a quick grab, a symbiont from a distant planet appeared in his hand. Next second, a obedience magic hit. The symbiote immediately became obedient. Miss America happily grabbed the symbiont and shook it for a while, especially to relieve stress. Venom looked at the eyes of this new symbiote, full of pity. Noticing his gaze, Miss America asked, What's the matter with your venom? We will eat it as soon as it touches it. Cindy stared at Venom with fierce eyes. Don't listen to him. This guy can't keep snacks. No matter how much you buy every time, you will eat it all in one day. Then we stopped buying it. Venom looked aggrieved and said in a low voice, I won't be like this in the future, Nandi. Cindy snorted coldly. Venom wailed. Looking at the interesting scene, Lin Ke reached out to take the venom, squeezed it into a ball, and slapped it back and forth. How about I give you a blessing that you won't be hungry, so that you don't need to eat in the future? Venom yelled, Don't. Lin Ke is very interesting. Why? Venom didn't dare to lie, and said cautiously, I don't want to become stronger and evolve. Cindy suddenly realized. No wonder Venom is so gluttonous. Immediately, she said angrily, It seems that you want a rebel. The Venom cried out, What a big grievance. There is no such thing at all. I am just pure and want to become stronger. Cindy, just take pity on me. I know you are the best for me. The saliva I spit out these 2 days is poisonous. Do you know why? Eat junk food. Dogs still have dog food. Cindy blushed. Miss America and they are still on the sidelines, speaking as if I abused Venom. This is an infinite chocolate mold that can make all kinds of chocolate. Lin Ke patted the Venom ball vigorously and made a chocolate mold for Cindy. This way Cindy doesn't have to think about buying chocolate all the time. Surprise flashed in Venom's eyes. Cindy was also a little happy and thanked Venom. Thank you, Lin Ke. If it weren't for the presence of outsiders. She wants to kiss Lin Ke with a 3.8. Now that Cindy has this little toy, Venom is probably going to be a licking dog to the end. Time flies. 2 months passed in a blink of an eye. Lin Ke's research on transcending the origin has not gained much for the time being. On the side of transcendence, things are booming. However, Lin Ke is not without progress. In the cosmic egg, the third Tao fruit has been conceived. That is a supreme being, once conceived. It has the strength of Lin Ke's body. However, that is a goddess. Lin Ke doesn't care about this. It's just a Tao fruit anyway. Anyway, his Tao fruit is quite young and lean. Lin Ke named it the goddess of creation. This mother god of creation seems to like the calendar very much. When Lin Ke feeds the power of law to the cosmic egg, it will be directly absorbed by her. Chapter 111. This can't help but make Lin Ke guess. Could it be that the mother goddess of creation is following the path of the emperor governing all laws? That's the case. On the road of law, I really need to learn more. After all, this is not only the merit of the cosmic egg, but also something that the creator goddess likes. This day, just when Lin Ke was molesting Cindy, a flash of light suddenly flashed in his mind. Immediately afterwards, inspiration gushed out. Lin Ke was overjoyed. Finally, there are eyebrows. So, following this inspiration, he began to have an epiphany. This epiphany lasted for a full hour. You have long-term comprehension of transcending the origin, insight into and transcending all phenomena in the world. You have an epiphany and created, beyond the Dachao Cultivation Method, beyond the Protos creation technique. Introduced by a little bit of the origin of the transcendent Protos, integrate beyond Asur's strength, and give birth to a new transcendent God bloodline in the body. Should surpass God bloodline, non-native transcend God bloodline. It is a new 12-type transcend God bloodline that combines your own golden Superman cultivation method, the original city of creation and everything in itself. Lin Ke was ecstatic, and without a word, he took out the source of transcendence and began to integrate. In order to avoid causing a big commotion, this time he went to the pocket universe where the universe egg was stored. In the pocket universe, he made a breakthrough. A brand new bloodline beyond God was born in him. Nothing earth-shattering. It's just that Lin Ke feels like he's surpassed everything. Everything in the universe is like a piece of paper in front of him. The vision of the whole person seems to have directly surpassed the Marvel universe and came to the omnipotent universe. It feels amazing. Lin Ke had a thought. An invisible hand stirred in the almighty universe. A multi-universe was gently pinched by him like a marble. Then, bam, the marbles popped. That big invisible hand exuded an almighty calendar. Thus, the marble returned from dust to its original shape. This is the almighty class? Lin Ke was pleasantly surprised. Finally broke through. It's not easy. And the epiphany came very suddenly. Otherwise, how can it be called epiphany? Perhaps thinking without thinking is the best way to comprehend beyond the origin. Lin Ke stepped forward and entered the white-hot room. Here is the heart of Phoenix Force. All Phoenix Force successors have the opportunity to come here after death. Definitely, if the Phoenix Force favors you enough, you can come here too. Lin Ke went straight to the core area. The Phoenix spirit appeared and rubbed Lin Ke's palm affectionately. This scene surprised several Phoenix Force hosts nearby. Lin Ke didn't care about them, and just felt the spirit of the Phoenix wholeheartedly. This time, he was finally able to observe the whole picture of the Phoenix spirit. In the past, even if he was the god of creation, he couldn't see the Phoenix spirit completely. It's so beautiful. Lin Ke sighed inwardly, and the movement of stroking the Phoenix spirit became more and more gentle. Feng Huang, if I leave here one day, will you follow me? I will find a successor Asgardian for the life of this universe. Lin Ke said softly. Phoenix Force's pupils were shining brightly, and he nodded. It really enjoys the feeling of hugging Lin Ke. Advertisement, this is a person. Lin Ke lightly kissed Phoenix Force on the cheek. No other meaning. Just an expression of pure love. Who are you? At this time, Qin Gale came over. He is Qin Gale of the main universe, and his strength is very strong. Definitely, that's for everyone else. In front of Lin Ke, she is just a piece of thicker paper. Moreover, she is still using Phoenix Force. And Phoenix Force fully trust Lin Ke. Hi, I'm Lin Ke. Lin Ke laughed. My name is Jean Grey. Qin Grey said with a smile. This is the first time I see a man here. Lin Ke nodded. Perhaps there will be male Phoenix Force successors in the future. But not yet. Can we talk? Qin Gale really wanted to ask Lin Ke how he summoned the Phoenix spirit, and how he did not get hurt when he came into contact with it. This is a very important thing for all Phoenix Force successors. Next time, I want to accompany it well this time. Lin Ke laughed. Qin Gale looked at Lin Ke, then at Phoenix Force, and left with a smile. Next, Lin Ke used Phoenix Force to build a compartment in the white heat chamber. Part of his own consciousness, the part of the consciousness that leads the Phoenix spirit, roams in the omnipotent universe. The size of the golden phoenix can't be calculated by numbers at all, and it can't even be described as a concept. And Lin Ke is sitting on top of it. Lin Ke is also an existence that cannot be described by concepts. The almighty universe keeps calling to Lin Ke, wanting him to come in real body. As if this is home, Lin Ke forcibly held back this feeling. At least wait for his Tao fruit to blossom and reach the level of Oya before coming to almighty universe. Only with such background can he surpass Oya in one leap. Surpass the father-level existence he saw before 597, and become the only true God in the almighty universe. Time seems to have passed billions of years like this. This part of Lin Ke's consciousness returned to his body. The almighty universe is really wonderful, he sighed inwardly. There are countless universes like Marvel in the omnipotent universe. If it is not within the regulatory scope of Oya, it is really nothing. After this trip, the relationship between Lin Ke and the Phoenix spirit deepened. I gotta go. Lin Ke patted the Phoenix spirit on the head and said. Phoenix Force nodded. Lin Ke left the white-hot room. At the same time, Starlight Castle. Malin looked at Lin Ke's chess pieces and sighed. Phew, it's finally out. Why does this kid keep running to some weird places? Implement the plan now, so as not to have too many daily dreams. Following Merlin's gaze, the pawn belonging to Dr. Doom began to move autonomously. Seemingly autonomous. In fact, it was completely under Merlin's control. Earth. Late at night, Dr. Doom quietly came to Andy's house. With deep eyes, he stared at the Transcendent. Chapter 112. Andy controls the computer and makes a statement. There is a new superhero in the slums. If you have any difficulties, you can leave a message in the post. And it comes with a video of the Transcendent showing his divine power. Replies to the post quickly ran into the thousands. Andy is looking for real information in it. The Transcendent sat aside, drinking Coke. Mr. X, there is an urgent message that a supermarket is being robbed a block away. Andy said suddenly. Mr. X is the new code name of the Transcendents. The Transcendent's eyes lit up, and he immediately took the mask on the table. Come on. Suddenly, laughter came from behind the two of them. The two looked back and found a man wearing a cloak and iron armor. It was Dr. Doom. You are Dr. Doom, Andy exclaimed. Aren't you imprisoned in a superpower prison? Dr. Doom snorted coldly. Thanks to you making trouble, otherwise I would have found a way to escape. Andy asked, how did you find out that the Beyonder is here? Andy instantly judged that Dr. Doom came here this time for the Transcendent. I have no reason to answer you. Dr. Doom stopped talking to Andy after saying a word, and looked at the Transcendent. Now, please come with me, or I will kill this kid. As he spoke, he took out a branch-like staff and pointed it at Andy. The Transcendent's expression changed drastically, and he stood in front of Andy. Hee hee. Dr. Doom sneered and said with a smile, I want to kill him, but you can't stop it. You should know my methods. The Transcendent also understood this truth, nodded and said, Okay, I'll go with you. Once Dr. Doom's cloak was rolled up, he left this space with the Transcendent. No. Andy was extremely anxious, thinking quickly in his mind. Dr. Doom will definitely be bad for the Transcendents. I have to inform the Avengers about this. Dr. Doom took the Beyonder to a bunker. Housed here are huge amounts of conversion instruments. Only two people need to stand on the balance at one end, and they can exchange bodies. The purpose of Dr. Doom is simple. Exchange a body with the Transcendent. He believes that the body of the Transcendent has great potential. Flying Galactus with a single punch. This performance is too dazzling. No one would not want it. Do you think you can beat me? The Transcendent smiled disdainfully. Punch out. Dr. Doom dodges. Hee. When you and I came here, the outcome has already been decided. Dr. Doom spread his arms. Suddenly, a large number of magic runes lit up in the bunker. These magics rushed to the Transcendent, turned into ropes, and tied him up. The Transcendent was terrified and couldn't break free no matter how hard he tried. Do you know what I'm going to do to you? Dr. Doom stepped forward and picked up the Transcendent. Your body has infinite potential, but unfortunately, it was all wasted by you. The Transcendent is at a loss. How can I have limitless potential? These are the strengths given to me by my elder brother. You don't deserve to have the right to use your body. Dr. Doom stepped onto the scale step by step and put the Transcendent on it. I went to the other end of the balance. Next second, the magic instrument is activated. Boom! The instrument exploded. The sound of the explosion was earth-shattering. Seems like something went wrong. This explosion opened up a space-time tunnel extremely violently. The Transcendence and Dr. Doom are sucked in at the same time. Just when the space-time tunnel was about to close, Lin Ke appeared, and the sun plunged in. He has been paying attention to the Transcendence, and naturally it is impossible for Dr. Doom and the Transcendence to swap bodies, so he blew up the conversion device. But I didn't expect to open a time and space gate. Time and space change. Lin Ke came to a world of blue waves and blue sky. I only saw one person who transcended. Dr. Doom is gone. Brother. The Beyonder found Lin Ke. Brother. Lin Ke smiled and nodded. His sight pierced through this universe in an instant, and he was a little surprised. It's medieval. Moreover, the magical elements in this world seem to be too strong. At this time, a cavalry team from afar came over. Who? The leader shouted loudly. Lin Ke snapped his fingers, added a magician's suit on his body, and said with a smile, Your Excellency, we are just necromancers passing through here. The knights listened, and there was some commotion. Necromancer? Why do necromancers come here? They probably don't need water supplies. Maybe they're French black necromancers that have drugged the raw water. The leader waved his hand to stop the discussion, straightened his clothes and said, Honorable Mr. Necromancer, you must have heard what my subordinates said. France is at war with me, Great Britain. In case this spring is poisoned. After hearing this, the Transcendent picked up the spring water without saying a word, drank it directly. His eyes lit up and said, It's so sweet. Lin Ke was speechless. The Transcendent is really like Era. The commander's complexion changed, and he wanted to say a few more words. A woman's voice came from the carriage among the night troops. Let them in. This time, the audience was completely silent. It seems that the woman in the carriage has a high status in the hearts of all knights. My lord, please get in the carriage. The leader dismounted, walked up to Lin Ke and the Transcendent, and said respectfully. Lin Ke glanced at the exquisite carriage and smiled at the Transcendent. Do you want to play here for a while? The Transcendent nodded and said with a smile, Okay, big brother. Have we come to the legendary Otherworld? Lin Ke nodded. That's right. The Transcendent said slightly excitedly. Then are we brave? Lin Ke was speechless. This little brother did not miss the light of day. He nodded and said, For the time being. Ouch. The Exceeder shakes his fist in excitement. Now he is not only a hero, but also a brave man. Be sure to brag with Andy when you go back. Soon, the two got into the carriage. There were 3 people in the compartment. They were a glamorous and seductive woman in revealing clothes, a beautiful woman with ponytails, and a man who was seriously injured and unconscious. Lin Ke looked at the man with playfulness in his eyes. Isn't that Dr. Doom? Just changed his outfit. And it seems that he was seriously injured by the previous explosion. Excuse me, what is the purpose of this lady's visit to us? Lin Ke looked at the woman with ponytail and said, Father brought the god of creation here so quickly. It's really... Rome smiled wryly in his heart, but on his face he smiled sincerely, stretched out his hand and said generously, My name is Rome. You should not be from this world. Neither Lin Ke nor the Transcendent showed any surprise. The reason is also very simple, because I don't care. That's right, came here by accident. Lin Ke nodded with a smile and shook hands with Rome. He didn't know that the woman in front of him was Merlin's daughter, and she was also an all-around existence. There is nothing unusual about this. Advertisement at their level. A little cell has infinite variables. Unless you really use means to investigate, otherwise from the outside, you will only think that the other party has strength. I am the Transcendent. The Transcendent laughed. The glamorous woman on the side also introduced herself. My name is Morgan, and Rome is my senior sister. The Transcendent showed a hint of surprise. The 2 women seemed to be about the same age. What's the matter with this gentleman? Do you need my help to treat it? The Transcendent looked at the unconscious Dr. Doom. The face behind Dr. Doom's mask is ordinary. Thank you for your kindness, but we have already treated him, and I believe he will wake up in a short time, Morgan said calmly. Rome said with a smile, Since you have come to our world, don't rush to leave. Looking at your appearance, you should be from modern times. You probably haven't experienced life in the Middle Ages yet. Now that my father has sent Supreme to the door, then you can't let it go. Gotta give it a try. Lin Ke nodded, indifferently said, Yes. The Transcendent said excitedly, What fun is there in the Middle Ages? Rome laughed and said, Noble lady, knight armor, magic, and adventure. Rejoiced the Transcendent. This is exactly the same as he thought of Otherworld. Quickly asked, Are there any elves? Rome nodded. Yes, The Transcendent said excitedly. Is there any dragon? Rome nodded. Yes. The Transcendent grabbed Lin Ke's shoulder and said, Brother, let's stay here. Don't go back. Lin Ke was speechless. You don't want Hill and Tony anymore? Those who surpassed were ashamed. Lin Ke didn't want to dampen his enthusiasm and said with a smile, However, we can indeed play here for a while. When you are familiar with it, you can bring Cindy and the others over next time. They should also be interested in the live-action sword and magic. Great. The Transcendent heard the words and cheered loudly. Morgan frowned, looked at the smiling teacher, and then at the unconscious Dr. Doom. Why is the teacher laughing? Don't you think it's inappropriate for the Transcendent to speak so loudly with the wounded next to him? This is the difference in information. Roma and Lin Ke both know the identity of Dr. Doom, and Morgan didn't know, so he was worried and stood on Dr. Doom's side. This time back to the capital of Great Britain, I can take you to visit the Royal Academy. Rome laughed and said, There are countless magic books there. I believe you will be interested. Lin Ke nodded. The Transcendent said awkwardly, I don't know magic. Rome smiled and said, With your ability, you can catch up with Morgan soon. When Morgan heard this, a trace of surprise flashed across his flirtatious face. The capital of Great Britain. The two of Lin Ke rested overnight. The next day, Rome took them to the Royal Academy. In the endless library, countless spellbooks are displayed here. Witchcraft, magic, and the occult have everything. Lin Ke quickly immersed himself in it. After 2 days of learning, the Transcendent clamored to fight Dragon. This day, Morgan came to the library with coffee. In this way, is there any gain? Morgan smiled and handed the coffee to Lin Ke. Lin Ke glanced at the rather modern coffee by accident, reached out to take it, nodded and said, I have benefited a lot, and the knowledge here is beyond my expected. Morgan laughed. Senior sister said that you and the Transcendent have high abilities. I'm a little concerned. Can you show me? Lin Ke couldn't help laughing when he heard this. It seems that you still care about what Rome said last time. Forget it. Let you see and see. You're good at time magic, aren't you? As he spoke, Lin Ke didn't perform anything, just tapped Morgan's forehead with his finger. Then, he left gracefully. Morgan stood there blankly, being overwhelmed by some of Mind Star's magical knowledge. When she regained consciousness, Lin Ke had disappeared. There was a trace of shock on her face. At this time, Dr. Doom walked into the library, holding a bouquet of roses in his hand, and said with a smile, Morgan, I've been looking for you for a long time. I heard that you came to the library. This is a gift from me. I hope you can bloom like this bouquet of roses today. Morgan glanced at Rose, shook his head and left. Dr. Doom was at a loss. Is there anything women don't like? Wait for me, Morgan. Dr. Doom quickly chased after him. He's been courting Morgan these days. Everyone in the Wangdu circle knows it. Night. Prom. This is Lin Ke's first time participating in a medieval ball, which is very interesting. Morgan, do you have time tomorrow night? On the other side, Dr. Doom was surrounding Morgan. Morgan didn't appear impatient, but just shook his head and said, No. Dr. Doom smiled complacently. Then you have time tonight. Why don't you dance with me? Morgan shook his head and said, I'm not interested. I'll go first. Before leaving, Morgan glanced at Lin Ke. Dr. Doom frowned, stared at Lin Ke, and said, Did you say something to Morgan? Lin Ke shrugged, indicating that it had nothing to do with him. Dr. Doom snorted coldly. It's better not to. He still had something to hide from the elder brother whom the Transcendents called, and wanted to make friends with him in exchange for some information. But now that it's about Megan, he can't control that much. To learn from the meeting, the medical master sleeps. He can't touch Rome, and Morgan is the best choice. And his eyesight is poisonous. Recognizable at a glance, a woman like Morgan, who has a cold appearance, does not enter strangers, and usually has no gossip. Once she falls in love with someone, it is definitely a deep love, with all reservations. When there was no one around Lin Ke, a lady soon came over and invited Lin Ke to dance. The nobles of Great Britain are open. Lin Ke danced with her, but declined the follow-up invitation. With his current vision, he no longer looks down on these Rouge vulgar fans. In the next few days, Morgan often came to the library, bringing coffee every time he came. This night, Morgan invited Lin Ke to the observatory. Secretly, Dr. Doom watched this scene. His brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Looks like it's time to find a chance to teach Lin Ke a lesson. That one is Ziwei Star, the most magical star in Eastern mysticism. The sky is full of stars, and Morgan teaches Lin Ke to identify the stars. The evening breeze was a bit chilly. Lin Ke is not an uninterested person, so he put his clothes on Morgan. Do you understand? Morgan turned his head and stared at Lin Ke's eyes with beautiful eyes. He took Lin Ke's hand and placed it on his lap. Morgan wore a high-slit, deep V dress today. The two looked at each other for a few seconds and soon exchanged saliva. During the piling, Lin Ke asked, "Isn't Jackson pursuing you? I think you have a good impression of him." Morgan touched her eyebrows slightly and pressed her fingers against Lin Ke's abdomen. "His magic ability is very good, and he is also very good at coaxing women, but he is far behind you." Lin Ke chuckled and grabbed Morgan's slender wrist with one hand, as if holding two reins. It turned out to be such a woman, so he didn't have any scruples when she revealed it. Although it is the first pool, Lin Ke didn't show any mercy either. Chapter 113. In the days that followed, Dr. Doom often saw Lin Ke and Morgan in pairs. What this represents is self-evident. He also went to trouble Lin Ke, but Lin Ke easily overthrew him. This made him feel extremely humiliated. "I am the majestic Dr. Doom, the ruler of Ladovilla. Roman, I have something to report to you." On this day, Dr. Doom found Rome. "Please say." Rome nodded. "Do you know about Lin Ke and Morgan?" Dr. Doom asked in a low voice. "Lin Ke and Morgan?" Rome frowned. She was delayed by some things these days and didn't pay attention to this side. "Yes, these two seem to have an affair." Dr. Doom nodded solemnly. "I suspect that Morgan taught Lin Ke some forbidden witchcraft." Rome asked, "What is your judgment?" After hearing this, Dr. Doom felt a little hard to say, but he still said, "The day before yesterday I found Lin Ke to discuss 007's witchcraft, and found that he used witchcraft that I had never heard of before." Rome laughed dumbfounded. "It's natural. Do you have any idea about Lin Ke?" Rome inherited Merlin's wisdom and is very smart. She could tell what Dr. Doom was thinking at a glance, and found it a little childish and funny. "You are just very game-able. Go to fight other game makers and rich brothers?" "Definitely no." Dr. Doom categorically denies it. He didn't want to end up as a scumbag in the eyes of Rome. In order to prove that what he said was true, he laughed and said, "After all, I came to the capital with him, and we have always had a good relationship in private." Rome shook his head funny and said, "In that case, you can come with me. I happen to be looking for Lin Ke." BCCF. Dr. Doom nodded and followed Rome to Lindo. Lin Ke at the moment is flipping through books in the library, with a cup of coffee on the table. Morgan was sitting opposite, also having a cup of coffee in hand. Originally, this drink was just used by her to please Lin Ke from the future with time magic, but after spending more time with Lin Ke, she also liked to drink it. "It seems that you are quite used to staying here." Rome walked behind Lin Ke and smiled. "Sister Roman." Morgan says hello. "I love this library." Lin Ke laughed. The knowledge in this library is not only from the Marvel Universe, but also from outside the Marvel Universe. At the same time, he knew the identity of Rome in his heart. Merlin's daughter. Advertisement belonged to the Immortal family. The Immortals are the Protoss in the Almighty Universe, with few personnel, but basically all of them are almighty. "Heh, these are some superficial things. Do you want to look at the more core ones?" Roman laughed. "Oh." Lin Ke became interested, closed the book, and stared at Rome. "Would you like to go to Avalon with me?" Rome didn't hold back. With a smile on his face, it seemed that he would be sure that Lin Ke would not refuse. Immediately afterwards, she added, "Definitely will also bring the transcendent." Avalon. Known as the land of truth in some spellbooks, it contains the mysteries of the entire omnipotent universe. Lin Ke naturally wanted to go. Immediately he laughed. "I can't ask for more." Morgan looked shocked. She hasn't been to Avalon either. Rome glanced at Morgan and Dr. Doom and said with a smile, "Here you two go too. I intend to create a team to protect the omnipotent universe. At that time, if you're interested, you can stay. Stay if you're interested. Leave if you're not." Dr. Doom keenly captured the key information, excitedly said, "I am willing to protect the almighty universe." Lin Ke glanced at him. "Guardian, are you afraid that you want to rule?" However, in his eyes now, Dr. Doom is no different from Xiao Xiami, so there is no need to pay too much attention to it. It's not too late to make a decision after going to Avalon. As Rome spoke, he suddenly looked to one side with his hands behind his back. The space on that side is open. The Transcendent is wearing a helmet and holding a sword and is fighting a red dragon. The fight is back and forth. "Who?" The red dragon breathes out, and the flames are like pillars. The Transcendent jumped back and retreated into the space gate. "How did I get here?" The Transcender was stunned. Immediately, he found Lin Ke and others and exclaimed, Crack, big brother. Lin Ke looked at his outfit, raised his eyebrows and said, "Aren't you hot?" The Transcendent looked down and suddenly exclaimed, "It's hot, it's hot." Jumping left and right, "It looks like a roasted red-skinned prawn." Roman raised his forehead, and with a thought, the Transcendent's armor cooled down rapidly. Then with a wave of hands, everyone came to a dreamlike world. Ahead is a huge amounts of world tree. An old man stood under the world tree, waited for a long time, smiled and said, "Hello, my name is Merlin." Chapter 114. This is my father. Roman laughed. Lin Ke looked at Merlin squarely, smiled and said, "Defender, I've heard of you for a long time." Merlin's eyes shone with joy. "I have been waiting for you for a long time, my lord." The two of them talked. They were not unfamiliar at all, as if they were old friends who had known each other for many years. The Transcendent said curiously, "Brother, do you know him?" Lin Ke nodded. "I guess we know each other." When he and the spirit of the Phoenix traveled in the omnipotent universe, the perception arrived here. "I see. Those who transcend are clear." Dr. Doom's expression changed. "Merlin is the greatest magician in all of Great Britain, and it's from ancient times." Lin Ke actually said he knew each other? Dr. Doom's current understanding of the entire universe is seriously insufficient. He had no idea how important the old man standing in front of him was. "Please come into the room and talk about it." Merlin turned around and walked towards the world tree. At the root of the world tree, there is a portal. A group of people followed and came to a giant palace. Is the palace inside the tree? The Transcendent blinked and looked around. This is the world tree of the omnipotent universe, and there are infinite worlds in it. Roman laughed. Lin Ke nodded secretly. Compared with this world tree, Thor's family's world tree is not as exquisite as 1/1000th of it. More importantly, it contains all the laws of the omnipotent universe. Roman looked at Lin Ke intentionally or unintentionally. Lin Ke frowned. "It reminds me of the creator goddess who has a soft spot for power of law." Here we are. At this moment, Merlin stopped in his tracks. This space is very empty, with doors on all sides, and a huge amounts of water pool in the middle. "This is the Vientiane Hall." Merlin said something, then crossed to the water pool and introduced. "This is the Vientiane Spring. You can use it to observe every corner of the omnipotent universe." Dr. Doom's eyes lit up. With him, you can monitor everything. The Transcendent looked happy and said to the spring, "I want to see what Hill and the others are doing." A picture appears on the pure water surface. Advertisement: the vision of Hill, Mia, Simmons, Wanda, and others appeared in the pool. "Hill, can you hear me?" cried the Beyonder. Hill and the others didn't respond and were still doing their own thing. "I don't know where Lin Ke went to play. Cindy, how about we go to Paradise Island?" Simmons lay on the sofa, bored. Sky on the side nodded, and the two disappeared into the picture together. "Some hidden places in the universe that cannot be observed," Rome said. Lin Ke nodded. "It's strong enough." After all, the scope of observation is the entire omnipotent universe. Next, Merlin led several people to the next hall. In the center of the hall stands a huge amounts of stone door. "This is the stone gate." Merlin continued to introduce. "You can use it to go to any place in the omnipotent universe. The premise is that you have a concept first." Lin Ke stared. "This is a good thing. It's equivalent to a world-traversing device. Seeking flowers. 0. I don't know if it is possible to go to the great worlds of Hongguang, Shutian, and Xinyi. If he can go to these places, then his upgrade speed is estimated to be able to rise again." Dr. Doom and the Transcendent were just surprised, and they didn't have as many thoughts in their hearts as Lin Ke. After all, vision is limited. "Master Merlin, may I use it?" Dr. Doom I asked a presumptuous question. A Vientiane spring and a stone gate completely hooked him. Merlin looked at Dr. Doom meaningfully and said with a smile, "Let's talk about it after you join the Holy Sword Squad." As he spoke, he glanced at Lin Ke. Seeing Lin Ke's calm expression, he secretly smiled. Lin Ke is a very ambitious person. It is impossible not to be tempted. Vientiane Spring and Shizamen are mainly used to catch Lin Ke. But now it seems that it is not enough. After receiving the reply, Dr. Doom clenched his fist excitedly and promised, "I will devote myself to the Holy Sword Squad, and I will die." Merlin smiled, said nothing, and continued walking towards the next door. Dr. Doom's pupils shrank. Is this not the end? After passing through the gate directly ahead, Lin Ke's eyes lit up. This is a spiral library with a soft starlight glowing in the space. There are infinite books on every bookshelf, and there is infinite knowledge in a book. Merlin opened his hands and said with a smile, "This is the omniscient library, containing all known knowledge in the omniverse." At this moment, even Lin Ke couldn't help being shocked. Chapter 115. Vision, Portal, Power. Merlin has all these three crucial powers in his hands, and it's almighty universe level. Gentlemen, any views on this development? Merlin smiled. There's some mischief in the eyes. Mr. Malin, I am willing to devote all my blood to the great cause of violation of peace. Dr. Doom raised his hands and swore. I heard Miss Roman said about the duty of the Holy Sword Squad. I think I'm the most suitable one? Merlin nodded in satisfaction and looked at Lin Ke. Lin Ke stared at Mei Lin's face and said with a smile, Merlin, do you mean that after joining the Holy Sword Squad, Anthraquinone will come along with the 750 in these three places? Merlin shook his head. Definitely not. Dr. Doom was stunned. Merlin Necromancer actually said no? Immediately, he became angry and looked at Lin Ke. Lin Ke, how dare you call Master Merlin by name? Lin Ke laughed and said nothing, ignoring the Joker. In terms of the identity of the creator god of the Marvel Universe, he is really inferior to Merlin. But he's just a Marvel creator. He is also Almighty God now, and it is the kind that is sure to be on an equal footing with OAA at any time. Merlin smiled unabated. After you join the Holy Sword Squad, the Vientiane Spring and Stone Gate can be used at will, which are necessary to maintain the Almighty Universe. But the Omniscient Library is my private domain. In other words, it is the property of our immortal clan. Only people from our immortal clan can come in. Lin Ke frowned and smiled to play with taste. Then what do you mean we are here? Merlin stared at Lin Ke like an old fox, smiled and said, Our immortal clan is sparsely populated. Only Rome and our old fellows. That's it. Merlin believed that Lin Ke had understood what he meant. Come here this time, just to show you around. Merlin looked straight, looked at Transcendence and Dr. Doom and said, Okay, now you decide whether you want to join the Holy Sword Squad. Dr. Doom said decisively, I do. Looking at that solemn attitude, it was almost time to take an oath. The Transcendent also wanted to agree, hesitatingly said, After I join the Holy Sword Squad, can I still be a superhero with Andy? Merlin nodded affirmatively. Definitely. A joy to the Transcendent. Then I agree to join the Holy Sword Squad. Finally, Merlin looked at Lin Ke and said with a smile, The Holy Sword Squad is very relaxed. Lin Ke raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, I didn't say I was going to refuse. I promised. Not to mention anything else. Just the Stone Gate has aroused Lin Ke's great interest, so naturally it is impossible to refuse. Advertisement. Merlin smiles. As your reward for joining the team, you can stay here for a day, Rome. After that you take them to where Captain Britain is and get to know each other. After speaking, the chest left. Rome put his hands behind his back and said with a smile, Hurry up, this opportunity is rare. Dr. Doom rushed to the bookshelf in one stride. The Transcendent scratched his head and looked at Lin Ke. Lin Ke laughed and said, Just find what you like. Transcendent's learning is similar to him, and there are no attribute restrictions. Random learning can become a system. Okay, bro. The Transcendent nodded and casually walked towards a bookshelf. Rome joked, Why? Does Master Chuang Shishin despise this kind of knowledge? Lin Ke shook his head and said with a smile, Definitely not. I want to ask you, do you know a universe called Primordial? Affiliated with Eastern culture. Rome thought for a moment and said, Follow me. As she spoke, she led Lin Ke to a bookshelf, took out an indigo book and said, Prehistoric is a world more powerful than Marvel. The extraordinary knowledge created by the creatures inside is called exercises. Have you been in contact with the prehistoric? Rome stared at Lin Ke and asked curiously. That's right. 1-inch. Lin Ke nodded. What is the almighty universe? The omniverse is the universe that contains all fantasy. Put another way, as long as you have imagined the universe, there is it in the omnipotent universe, no matter how small the probability is. Almighty gods like Lin Ke and Rome are the ultimate beings standing on top of fantasy, logic, and cause and effect, eternal and immortal. As long as you can imagine things, Almighty God can basically do it. Attacking into strings, annihilation of time and space, and creation of multi-universe 4.0 are not problems. Roman said, You have creatures called Daluo Jinxian and saints. You need to pay attention. Lin Ke raised his eyebrows and asked, Can they still find us? Rome nodded. Definitely. The knowledge you see may be a part of someone else's body, and they will definitely discover it. It's just that, even if you find out, there's nothing you can do about it. Because the omniscient library is part of the foundation of the omniscient universe. Lin Ke understood. Then there is no problem. He flipped through the book called Hongwang. Suddenly, the strongest inspiration ever emerged in his heart. Chapter 116. You observe that the majesty is broken, and the life potential is greatly improved. You observe the initial formation of chaos, and the life potential has been greatly improved. You have observed the battle between gods and demons for hegemony, and you have gained a lot of insight, and you have comprehended the fighting Saint Ju. Fighting ability. Obtaining the right to fight, you stand at the top of the almighty cosmic sign fighting ability, and your strength is endlessly enhanced. You observe Pengu and the opening of the sky, which means a lot, and you have comprehended almighty annihilation and creation. Almighty annihilation. Open up a vast universe in the almighty universe. Creation. The body transforms all things, and the body does not die. You observe the prehistoric universe, and you have a great understanding, and your life potential has been greatly improved. You observe the beast to measure the calamity. It makes a lot of sense. Comprehend supernatural powers primordial calamity. Supernatural powers primal calamity. You observe the transformation of one chi into 3 cleanses, and you will gain a lot of insight, and the effect of comprehending supernatural powers. 1 chi into 3 cleanses will be perfect. You observe Hongjuan's becoming a sage. There are 17 so-called comprehend supernatural powers. The most holy Ju. You observe Nuwa's creation of human beings, and you have a great understanding, comprehending supernatural powers mediate creation. All of the above epiphanies were obtained by Lin Ke in half an hour. For half an hour, he watched the rise and fall of the entire prehistoric universe. Roman laughed. Finish watching? Lin Ke nodded. Excellent story. Roman laughed. Indeed, a powerful existence in the primordial world opened up a chaos universe in the universe. You can go through the stone gate. I just don't know if they welcome you or not. Lin Ke shook his head and said, Do you know the Master Monitor universe? Master Monitor universe? Rome pondered slightly. It's the universe in DC Comics. Lin Ke shows a comic book. This I say. Roma is worthy of being Merlin's daughter. She has nothing to say about her knowledge reserves. As she spoke, she brought Lin Ke to another bookshelf, handed a book to Lin Ke and said, This is it, but you need to be careful. According to our previous observations, the main monitor is very likely to have his own consciousness, but he hasn't recovered yet. If it recovers, the entire almighty universe may usher in a catastrophe. Lin Ke looked solemn and asked a question. How does the Master Watcher compare to the OAA? Advertisement Roman shook his head and said, OAA is the Father God of the almighty universe. The Master Monitor is the Overlord of the almighty universe. The two are hard to compare. If there is a comparison, I still think the main monitor is a little more threatening. At least, OAA is maintaining the almighty universe, and the law of the omnipotent universe has little effect on the main monitor. Lin Ke nodded, expressing understanding. In other words, the Master Watcher is really going to do something. OAA really can't stop it at all. From this point of view, it is really necessary to go to the DC universe. But before that, let's take a look at the knowledge in the DC universe. Prepare well. Half an hour later, Lin Ke closed the book, and a little holy light began to appear on his body. This is a phenomenon that has evolved again. Although the holy light is very weak, but for the all-round powerhouse, it is already very difficult to come by. Roman, I want to understand the law in the omnipotent universe. I should read those books. Lin Ke continued to ask. Rome was very patient, took Lin Ke to another bookshelf and smiled. The books on this shelf are all good for you to appreciate the power of law. Lin Ke nodded and said, Thank you, Rome. Roman shook his head and said nothing. After one day, you have comprehended the law of time, and with a little rehearsal, law of time will be perfect. You have comprehended 733 law of karma, and with a little practice, law of karma will be perfect. You have comprehended space law. With a little rehearsal, space law will be perfect. You have comprehended death rules, and with a little rehearsal, death rules will be perfect. You have comprehended the energy law, and with a little practice, the energy law will be perfect. You have comprehended the golden law, and with a little practice, the golden law will be perfect. You have comprehended Sura law with a little rehearsal, and Sura law has reached perfection. You have comprehended infinite law. With a little rehearsal, infinite law will be perfect inside the pocket universe. Lin Ke feeds all the laws he has learned to the cosmic egg. The goddess of creation grew up rapidly, with 12 wings growing from her back. 3,000 laws linger around his body, his eyelids tremble, and they seem to be able to open at any time, shaking the entire omnipotent universe. Chapter 117. Not enough. Lin Ke whispered. The trembling of the creator goddess stopped. Lin Ke looked at the Holy Spirit beside him. The most holy must enter the cosmic egg as soon as possible. Otherwise it will affect the development. But the blood of Superman from the main universe has not been obtained yet. Lin Ke frowned. The laughing bat is really useless. It's been so long, and I still haven't contacted myself. You won't die, will you? Lin Ke thought to himself, and stepped out of the pocket universe. Starlight Castle. Vientiane Hall. Lin Ke stepped forward. Rome had expected it a long time ago, waiting for him here, and said with a smile, "You have become stronger again." Lin Ke nodded and said, "It doesn't make sense to us. This is telling the truth. Just like the previous evolution, at least 100 million times of evolution is required to reach the threshold of transcendence. This is no exaggeration. In the almighty universe, there are countless almighty-level powerhouses. Transcendence powerhouses can be counted. Wanting to leapfrog has nothing to do with time. Opportunity is needed. No, it doesn't even have anything to do with chance. Some things are decided on the day the almighty universe appears. In the culture of cultivating immortals, it is called heel feet. You can't follow your feet. The source of life is always scum, just like paper." Roman laughed. "Then have you found the next direction?" Lin Ke nodded. "The best way to become a superclass is undoubtedly to reign from the superclass originally. I want to go to the DC universe." When Roman heard this, his complexion changed slightly. "Aren't you going to take a break? You know, from the time you were born to the present, it has only been 30 years at most. Actually, I have always been curious about what kind of existence you are. Could it be the son of the almighty universe? Or some transcendent incarnation?" Lin Ke shook his head. "You think too much. I can achieve what I have now, all thanks to my own hard work." Roman eyes are long. "Do you think I will believe it? Advertisement, whoever believes is a fool." In fact, Rome didn't know. She really guessed part of it right. It is not true to insist that Lin Ke is the son of the omnipotent universe. Because when Lin Ke traveled through, his soul was soaked in the origin of the omnipotent universe. Otherwise, he would not have such an exaggerated comprehension. If you are eager to break through, you can start with the transcendent, and it is best not to worry. Otherwise, it is easy to be lost. Rome kindly reminded. Lin Ke twitched his lips, smiled, and said in agreement, "You're right, but I refuse." He has already obtained the origin of surpassing the Protoss, waiting for the metamorphosis of internal power. In fact, there is no problem at all. But he has a deep understanding of himself. I am a greedy person with a deep pursuit of perfection. If the third species left regrets because of a little danger, then he probably regretted it for not knowing how many epochs. Rome showed a look of surprise. Lin Ke doesn't seem like such a restless person. Lin Ke didn't say much, and imitated the origin of a DC dark multi-universe, explaining, "I've had contact with the DC universe before. That's one of the reasons why I improved so quickly. So, it's not that I don't know anything about the DC universe, so this trip is not a big problem. What's more, the DC universe should be undergoing tremendous changes now, which can be regarded as one of the crises. As a member of the Holy Sword Squad, I should stop it." Roman heard the explanation, sighed, and then said firmly, "Then I will go with you." Lin Ke was a little surprised, staring at Rome, and said, "Why?" Rome reluctantly said, "I made a bet with my father. He bet you will go to the DC universe after you come out. I bet you will go to the prehistoric universe. If I lose, I will go with you." In fact, Rome could guess what Merlin was thinking. It's nothing more than trying to match myself and Lin Ke. But I still have a longing for love. One-on-one is fine, but it will be avoided if I am included in the harem. What if he loses? Lin Ke asked curiously. Rome puts it bluntly, abdicate and let the virtuous. My father likes to play with other people's fate too much. I Nuomos don't like it. This is a great injustice to living beings. For example, Dr. Doom, if it wasn't for his father, he wouldn't have come here. Lin Ke laughed. Isn't this a good thing for Dr. Doom? If you lose the opportunity to come here, Destruction Bo will regret it for the rest of your life. Roman stared at Lin Ke with long eyes and said, "So, you accept being manipulated, don't you?" Lin Ke frowned. This means that it was Merlin who did it behind the scenes when he came here. Although he didn't directly manipulate himself, he also used indirect means and his curiosity. This old nephew. Something. Chapter 118. But he came here by himself. This old guy also gave benefits. Even if you want to be angry, you can't get angry. Just a little upset. Find a chance to punch Merlin. Lin Ke muttered something in his heart and then said, "Definitely is not acceptable. I put in so much effort. What I want is to be the only one in heaven and earth." Rome showed a satisfied smile and said, "That's it." Lin Ke laughed and said, "I am also happy to see the power of human free will. Power manipulation is too boring." Rome was more satisfied and said, "It seems that the two of us get along very well. It's good. At least this trip, we won't lose our temper." Lin Ke nodded and asked, "When to set off?" "The sooner the DC universe goes, the better." "Don't worry, let's take a look at the situation over there first." Rome nodded and came to Vientiane. Lin Ke nodded and looked towards Vientiane Spring. "I saw the water surface of Vientiane Spring changed, revealing an endless and deep 737 universe. WB at plus. Let us look at the beginning of this universe first. There is nothingness and blankness in the omnipotent universe, like a piece of infinitely wide blank paper. It may be called the Master Watcher. The native creatures here are called recording gods. Suddenly there was a certain segment, and a little flaw appeared on the main monitor. There is something called a story on top of this flaw. The god of recording had never been in touch with or understood this kind of thing, so he sent one of the tribesmen, Perpetua, to explore and return to the tribe. But Perpetua did not go back as he wished, but created the Wantianyu with the help of the power of the almighty universe, making it continuously create multi-universes to accumulate powerful legions and more power. She created 3 sons, the World Forger, the Watcher, and the Anti-Watcher. The World Founder is assigned to the World Furnace under Wantianyi, constantly forging the universe. The stable universe will be left behind, and the unstable universe will be fed to the little pet, Barbados, by him. Watchers watch over the normal multi-universe. Anti-surveillance guards all the space outside Wantian to ensure that no life will escape or be disturbed by outside life. The 3 didn't know that Perpetua needed to return to the Protoss of the world. In this way, 5 billion years have passed. The monitors found that for all the universes created by the Chuangshi god, the Chuangshi god would leave or create the next universe. And his mother didn't. Advertisement. He led the other 2 brothers, went outside the DC universe, and exposed his mother to the Protoss. The Protoss sent high-ranking judges to defeat Perpetua, and together with her legion, they formed an insurmountable wall of origin. The 3 brothers continue to perform their duties, and their original attributes determine all this. Big Brother World Founder continues to build the world. The Watcher sits on an infinitely vast multi-universe. Only the Anti-Monitor looked out over a wasteland clearing. He roared in anger, "Bide." The roar caused several universes to be instantly annihilated. This aroused the dissatisfaction of the other 2 elder brothers, and conflicts and battles broke out between the 2 sides. After being defeated countless times, the Anti-Monitor returned to his royal court, the Antimatter universe. Until one day, the World Founder was killed by his little pet, Barbados. The Dark Multi-Universe welcomes a true master. The Laughing Bat and the Dark Knights are all his followers. Forget about bars. The only safe place in the current DC universe. The Justice League, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and other heroes all gather here. They are the only heroes left in the entire DC universe. Just when everyone was at a loss, the door of the bar was pushed open. 2 voices and shadows stepped in. It was Lin Ke with Rome. "Who are you?" The people in the tavern suddenly became vigilant, and Bruce asked in a deep voice, "Don't be nervous. We are the Holy Sword Squad, the Asgardians of the Almighty Universe." Rome looked down at the crowd, with a condescension naturally showing in his eyes. Diana frowned and thought for a moment, then shook her head and said, "I've never heard of it, but if you can get here alive, it's a bit of a skill. How about it? Do you want to join us and resist the army of darkness together? There are very few living people left in the entire universe. One more person is one more help." Roman nodded and said, "That's what we're here for." Immediately, the atmosphere on the scene relaxed. Clark looked at Lin Ke and said, "Did I catch your attention? You seem very interested in me." Since entering the house, Lin Ke has been staring at himself. This made Clark a little puzzled. Chapter 19. Half of the purpose of our coming here is for you. Lin Ke chuckled. The Roman interface says, "Clark, If you are willing to join the Holy Sword Squad, we will solve this crisis for you. Batman stood in front of Clark quietly. Lin Ke laughed and said, "Definitely, if you don't agree, we will help you." Roma and Lin Ke played well together in tandem. The powerful and mysterious image immediately penetrated into the hearts of the heroes. "Fix this trouble? Do you know what happened to us?" Diana frowned. She thought the two men were talking big. Lin Ke casually said, "Laughing Bat, Barbados, these two guys may be very powerful in your universe, but in the field of omnipotence, they are just bigger fish and shrimp." The heroes peeked at each other. Clark said in disbelief, "My friend, I appreciate your willingness to help us, but are you sure you're not joking? If you don't have that strength, I don't want you to die rashly." Lin Ke laughed and said, "Please rest assured, since we are here, it means we are sure. Originally, we wanted to directly defeat the Dark Knights, but I still think it's better to say hello to you before that." Martian Manhunter shook his head and said, "My friend, I really hope you're not talking big, but the Dark Knights are really strong. All the most vicious villains in the multi-universe are working for the Dark Knights. It's hard to tell how complicated and troublesome it is. Even if you have peerless divine power, you may be killed directly." He didn't have to talk big. Suddenly there was a whisper in everyone's ears, full of the randomness of the old aristocrats. The stars move. The world changed for it, and the unpredictable power pulled everyone into a study. A young man with gray skin and luxurious clothes stood quietly. "Who are you?" Batman looked vigilant and prepared to attack. "You are the Oniroy?" Green Lantern said in surprise. Lin Ke looked playfully, exchanged glances with Rome, and then stared at the young man. The young man ignored the others, looked at Lin Ke in the same way, and said a little seriously, "Welcome, God of Otherworld." Lin Ke's attributes are very similar to his. "You can call me Supreme." Lin Ke laughed. The young man nodded and said, "My real name is Daniel Hall, and I am a member of the Endless family. This is the Kingdom of Dreams." Advertisement. Lin Ke smiled knowingly. The Endless family is the strongest family in the DC universe, and all family members are the highest concept of the DC universe. And the one in front of him has another name. Sandman. It is the supreme concept of the DC universe dream. Dreams define reality throughout DC. All gods are also born in dreams. However, this person in front of me is the second-generation Sandman. A generation of Sandman committed suicide. Roman said, "So your purpose is just to say hello to me?" The Sandman shook his head and said, "I hope you don't help Batman and them ask for flowers." The Sandman uttered amazing words, and the hero immediately became noisy. "What did you say? Don't help us? Are you crazy?" Wonder Woman bowed her hand, beckoned everyone to be quiet, stared at the Sandman, and said forcefully, "I need a reason." The lasso of mantra in her hand will not hold back if not given a proper reason. It's fine if you don't help, but you still don't let others help. The Sandman sighed and said, "If they are allowed to take action, there is indeed hope that the troubles of the Dark Knights will be resolved, but that's how it used to be." Zero, are you sure you want their help? Cyborg frowned and said, "What do you mean? The universe can be restored?" The Sandman nodded and said, "Definitely." Positive as he spoke, he stepped back to his seat and snapped his fingers. The space turned into darkness. In the darkness, a book is burning. Sandman said, "These are books made of people's fears. Because of the appearance of Barbados, they are turning into reality one by one. This cannot be stopped, because all this has been foreshadowed from the very beginning of the universe." The heroes were in an uproar, watching burning books. Some people were shocked and obviously shocked. Someone was unmoved, with a determined face. Someone looked at Sandman with a bad expression on his face. Batman argues, "What bullshit are you talking about? Can't be stopped? Nothing is absolutely perfect." Chapter 120. The Sandman shook his head and said, "Do not get excited. The destruction of the world can't be stopped, but that doesn't mean it can't be reborn." As soon as this remark came out, the heroes immediately fought in spirit. Roma and Lin Ke also had interesting expressions on their faces. The Sandman continued, "I can't fight side by side with you, but I can give you the strongest weapon of the Creator, and that is the story. When the world was born, Perpetua." Next, Sandman began to speak Pow, the story of the three Watchers brothers. All the universes that represent darkness and destruction, 630, were fed to Barbados by the World Forger, and he was also backlashed, swallowed by Barbados. If you want the universe to return to its original state, you must go to the very core of the melting pot of the world. find the 10th metal, and connect everything together. In this way, time and space can be reversed and everything can be adjusted. After the Sandman finished speaking, Batman gritted his teeth and asked, "But we are no match for the Dark Knights now, let alone go to the melting pot of the world." The Sandman nodded and said, "That's because you lack weapons. The Dark Knights come from the dark multi-universe, so you cannot harm or kill them outright. There is an item that can help you. That's Metal Ninth. The 8th metal is a prop used by the gods, and the 9th metal is superior to the 8th metal." Batman was shocked and asked, "Can you give us Metal Ninth?" The Sandman shook his head. "As I said, all I have to offer you is the story. Who are you?" The Flash asked in a low voice. "I?" The Sandman pondered for a moment and said, "I am the god of sleep, the physical incarnation of dreams in the universe, and also the god in your universe. A real god. It's not the same concept as planet gods like Darkseid and Zeus. Don't ask me why I didn't go to war. Everyone has their own position. Chess cannot be placed on the go board. Do you understand?" Hearing the words, all the heroes had different expressions. It is difficult for people to guess the words and deeds of this super high-level other great god. But from his words, it can be known that it is impossible for the Sandman to really contribute. In other words, he is already really working hard. It's just that for some reason, I can't end it in person. Advertisement, okay. Tell us where to find Metal Ninth. Batman took a deep breath and said. The Sandman nodded and said, "Star Negan." "Negan Star?" All the heroes looked at Hawkman in unison. Negan Star is the home star of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. You have to act fast. The melting pot of the world is already being corrupted by Barbados, and when it is completely dark, then the universe will have no possibility of turning around. There was a trace of solemnity in Sandman's words. As he spoke, he glanced at the heroes standing still, rubbed his forehead, and said, "Do you need me to take you there?" Dr. Fate shook his head, said, and snapped his fingers. Everyone disappeared out of thin air. Now only Rome. Lin Ke, Sandman. Lin Ke asked curiously, "What's your reason for not helping?" For a crisis of this level, the 5 creators of the Marvel Universe will definitely participate in it. The source is different, Sandman said lightly. Source? Lin Ke raised his eyebrows. The Sandman nodded and said, "Our world is very special. There are 4 origins at the top. Taishu, God, Giant Beast, Source. Need I explain it to you?" The Sandman stared at the two. At the same time, it can be regarded as testing how much information the two know. There was a hint of understanding in Lin Ke's eyes. Rome didn't feel anything, because she knew the reason from the beginning. Because this kind of thing is too common in the omnipotent universe. She has seen it not only in books, but also with her own eyes. Taishu is also the main watcher. As the only supreme, it can be compared to an infinite blank paper. God is a paintbrush, who can draw on the white paper of 2.2, and under his system are powerful people such as Angel, Lucifer, and Ghost. The beast is the opposite of God. All the dark aggregates in the universe. The reason why the heroes will fight endlessly is all because of it. The source is the race of Perpetua, belonging to outsiders. This is a terrifying race no less than the Protoss. Creating and destroying the DC multi-universe is only a matter of an instant. However, from the moment the Origins sent Perpetua into the DC universe, Perpetua was inevitably influenced by the giant beast. Chapter 121. I get it. We're not going to disrupt the game unless we have to. Lin Ke nodded. After all, they are foreigners. It is necessary to respect the game rules. Sandman nodded in satisfaction. Gotham City at night is dark and terrifying, as if everything is swallowed by darkness. Batcave. Bruce and his party did not go directly to Negan. Until then, they still need a little gear. For example, God-killing armor and star warship. Bruce put on the God-killing armor and his combat power sword. He opened his mouth to the air and said, "Lin Ke, we need your help." Lin Ke appeared out of nowhere, as if he had always been in the space in front of him. "This is your Battle 22. Wonder Woman walked up to Batman, raised her eyebrows, and said, "Didn't you say you want to maintain the balance of the universe, and now you want to stand by?" Lin Ke shrugged his shoulders and said, "If I really make a move, you may hate me. According to the original trajectory, Wonder Woman and the others will restore the universe. But if you intervene, the result may be different. It's not even certain that the Master Watcher will be revived because of this. Don't worry, I'll take care of you." For Clark's sake, Lin Ke made a promise. Batman was silent for a moment, and finally took a deep breath. "Well, If this is your decision, then we will do it ourselves. Wonder Woman nodded and gave Lin Ke a complicated look. We'll be back and hopefully we won't regret not helping. Lin Ke smiled and said, rest assured. Suddenly, Lin Ke felt that his state of mind was inexplicably familiar. Like a life court falling over and over again? Batman turned his head to look at the mini-heroes with a heavy atmosphere. The Flash Barry Allen says, Bruce, we will win. Green Lantern's body is surrounded by green light, and green light is shining in his hand. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, I will fight to the end. Dr. Fate walked over wearing a mysterious cloak, and the eyes under his helmet revealed a firm color. I've seen the future. All the heroes opened their mouths and said a word, like a deathbed declaration. Advertisement tragic and fearless. Huge amounts of topographic maps of Negan are displayed on the projection screen. Batman said heavily, listen, folks, this time we need to be determined to die, and many of us will die. He scanned his eyes, trying to find the unstable factors. But in fact, all heroes are prepared to die. Just another sacrifice? The hero present has not sacrificed? Wonder Woman boldly said, we're going to win this. Green Lantern nodded to Batman. Bruce, what's your plan? Batman remotely controls the projection screen, and a detailed combat strategy appears. We need to attack from their rear, take advantage of their unsuspecting, and take Metal Knife. But we have to divide into two groups, one for containment and one for assault. The Flash laughed. Hey, this is my specialty, let me contain them. Wonder Woman says, me and Green Lantern lead the strike team. Afterwards, the heroes were all ready to go, and went to the space battleship one after another. Clark finally said to Lin Ke, I hope you really have our backs, sir. Lin Ke smiled. Sandman and Rome quietly appeared beside him. The three watched as the heroes boarded the spaceship. The distance between the universes seems to be shortened. The starry sky flows outside the spaceship window, and every star seems to tell the ancient and mysterious universe. The spaceships of the superheroes shuttle through this star field, like a dragon, cruising in the sea of stars. Soon, the spacecraft landed on the planet Negan. Green Lantern 757 stood at the bow of the ship, and the light released by the green ring in his hand illuminated the darkness. Suddenly, shadows all over the sky covered their spaceship, which was the fleet of dark soybeans. Like moths to a flame, they rushed towards the spaceships of the superheroes from all directions. The Flash stares. Batman sat calmly in front of the podium. Everyone, get ready to fight. With the protection of Dr. Fate, everyone can survive in the universe. The final battle. The potential of each hero is basically brought to the extreme. The defense system of the spacecraft was activated, and artillery fire was fired at the enemy intensively. The fighters of the Dachao Legion were fearless. They broke through the fire net and fought fiercely with the superheroes. Batman manipulated the spaceship, trying to avoid the enemy's attack. Every collision seems to be the fury of thunder, hitting the spaceship's protective cover. Dr. Fate summoned a huge amount of energy shield, which resisted most of the attacks for the spaceship. Chapter 122. In the Void. The three of Lin Ke stood on a floating platform, watching this cosmic battle. Roman and Lin Ke both have funny faces, like watching a live-action movie. There was a hint of worry in the Sandman's eyes. Aboard the spaceship, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern team up and shoot their energy beams at the enemy mothership in an attempt to break its shield. Batman commanded the spaceship, trying to find the weakness of Darkseid's army. Suddenly, a huge amount of energy ball shot out from the enemy mothership, directly hit the engine part of the spaceship. The entire spaceship vibrated violently, as if it was about to fall apart. Damn it! The Flash swears and uses the Speed Force to try to repair the ship's damage. Batman said eagerly, we can't go on like this, we have to find a way. Wonder Woman gritted her teeth. We must break through their blockade and enter the planet Negan. At the edge of time and space, Lin Ke laughed. Looks like they're getting serious. Roman laughed. After all, they are superheroes. There are many such superheroes in the almighty universe. But she never gets tired of it. Sandman thought for a while and said seriously, human potential is limitless. He used to be immortal, but accidentally became a dream god. The attack of the Dark Legion swept across the entire battlefield like a frenzy. The defense cover of the spaceship is weakening rapidly. It seems that it is only a matter of time before it will be completely broken. At this critical moment, a red and blue figure flashed in the starry sky, then round Superman. He flew in front of Darkseid and shouted at him, Darkseid, stop your attack. Darkseid sneered, do you think the Japanese can stop me? Then I can only kill you. Superman's red cloak flutters in space, in stark contrast to Darkseid's dark armor. Superman rushed to Darkseid, and the two fought fiercely in the starry sky. Every hit is as shocking as a thunderbolt, making the entire universe tremble. Darkseid hits Superman with one punch of his mighty power, but Superman doesn't back down. He fights back, blowing his cold air at Darkseid in an attempt to freeze him. Advertisement, however, Darkseid was undeterred, and he shot Superman with his hot light vision, leaving Superman in agony of being burned. These are Omega rays. Can kill cause and effect. Darkseid's offensive stopped. He put his hands together and shot a huge amounts of black energy beam from his hands, hitting Superman directly. Superman blocked the energy beam with his body, but it was obviously very difficult. His body was pressed into shape-shifting, as if it would be pierced at any moment. Powerful energy gathered around Superman, pushing Darklander away. The two engaged in a fierce battle in the sky, as if two shooting stars intertwined in the starry sky. Superman caught up with Darkseid, grabbed his arm, and threw him hard to a planet in the sky. Darkseid yelled in pain, but Superman didn't let him go. His eyes spurted out heat and pierced into the center of the earth. The entire starry sky seemed to tremble. Darkseid was severely injured by Superman and escaped from the explosion at the planet's core. His dark armor was burned to the brim, but his eyes were still cold and unruly. Knowing he can't defeat Superman alone, he summons from the darkness three of his most powerful minions, Steppenwolf, Hurricane King, and Walker. Steppenwolf, Hurricane King, Walkers. Darkseid's voice shook the entire star. Go! Drag that arrogant guy down. Three of his minions immediately charged at Superman, each with a deadly blow. Although Superman is powerful, it is obviously difficult for these four to join forces. He dodged in the starry sky, dodging the dark beams of the Walkers, but was hit in the chest by the battle axe of the Steppenwolf, and then the hurricane force of the Hurricane Lord swept him into a large electric trap host. Hope Batman's plan will be successful, Superman thought with determination in his eyes. He tried to break free from the shackles of Hurricane Zhao Wang's, but the attacks of the four people continued to pour in like a tide, and the stream continued. Wonder Woman saw Superman's crisis. Eagerness and anger flashed in her eyes. She held up her long sword. Bruce, we have to get him. Batman, wearing the killing armor, was extremely domineering and responded, I see. The two quickly flew down and joined the interstellar battle. Wonder Woman came suddenly and rushed towards Darkseid at an unparalleled speed. The next moment, she turned around to attack the target. The long sword was like a flash of lightning, cutting the Steppenwolf from its waist to its tail. Incomparably brutal. The audience was stunned. Chapter 123. Darkseid took a deep breath, feeling a little scared in his heart. As the planet god in the realm of gods, he still knows Zeus very well. It is impossible for Zeus to give birth to such a powerful existence. This can only show that Wonder Woman has a deeper essence, a reality that he can't see through at all. Using his high-tech weapons, Batman unleashes a barrage of missiles on Hurricane King, breaking his hurricane. Walker was about to attack Batman with his energy beam, but Superman arrived just in time and knocked him into the air. For against four, the battle became more intense. Steppenwolf broke away from Wonder Woman's attack and charged at Superman. Batman, on the other hand, uses his stun prod on the Walkers, and every impact is accompanied by an arc of electricity. Wonder Woman and Darkseid launched a head-on duel, and every attack of the two was accompanied by the shock of the starry sky. In the fierce battle, Superman gradually showed his disadvantages, and he was suppressed by Steppenwolves and Walkers. Darkseid sneered and said, 733, it seems that your friend is nothing more than that. Why at this critical moment, Wonder Woman swung her mantra lasso, entangled the Walker and Steppenwolf together, and gave Superman a break. Darkseid's expression sank. The battle broke out again. This time the four superheroes clearly had the upper hand, and Darkseid and his men gradually became losers. Seeing the disadvantage, Darkseid roared angrily, retreat. He didn't really want to work for Barbados. The four quickly departed, leaving behind the Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman districts. Superman took a breath and said gratefully, thank you. Without you I might be... Wonder Woman smiled. We should thank you too. Batman looked into the distance and said coldly, see, the Dark Knight will come again, and we must be ready. Next, everyone drove the spaceship to the place where Metal Knight was produced. Dr. Fate has found the location. The ground is covered with strange runes. These runes seemed to be absorbing the life force of the planet, making it more withered. Batman stood in front of the observation window of the spaceship, frowning. What the hell kind of place is this? Dr. Fate shook his head. The planet is dead. Advertisement. The spaceship landed slowly, and there was a dead silence all around. Hawkman wanted to take off, but was pulled down by the strong gravitational force of Negan's star, and the flight altitude almost passed the ground. Except for the sound of their breathing, it seemed that the whole planet had stopped functioning, and those black runes all over the ground seemed to come alive, wriggling gently, slowly approaching them. We have to be careful, Batman reminded the crowd. These runes may be some kind of trap. The Flash looked around and said, every inch of the ground here seems to have some kind of evil magic, and I find it difficult to run. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind blew, mixed with an indescribable resentment and howl. Green Lantern's ring lights up. Dangerous. A figure slowly came out from the darkness. His body seemed to be composed of countless black runes, and his eyes shone with red light. Welcome to Negan. Wonder Woman flashed her sword, watching this strange existence vigilantly. Who are you? Why are you here? The Dark Master sneered. I am the will of this planet. You so-called superheroes are just my food. Superman frowned. We don't have time to play games with you, and tell us where Metal Knight is. The Dark Master didn't seem to care about Superman's threat, and smiled softly. Ninth Metal, you can get it if you kill me. After finishing speaking, his whole body turned into a black mist, spreading everywhere. Immediately afterwards, the entire Negan star seemed to be activated, and countless black runes emerged from the ground, forming dark creatures one by one. Rushing towards the superheroes, Batman gripped his taser tightly, ready to fight, whispered, "Be prepared." Green Lantern quickly created an energy shield to protect everyone. There seems to be no end to the dark creatures erupting from the land of Negan. They rushed towards the superheroes from all directions and devoured everything. Those creatures don't seem to have any substance, but are only made of darkness and hatred. Their eyes only have red flames, like ghosts in hell. Superman flew up, unleashing an intense heat vision, incinerating the creatures. But no matter how many he kills, there always seem to be new creatures of darkness emerging from the ground. He shouted, "There are so many of them, we have to find a way." The Flash moves across the battlefield at super speed, leaving behind a trail of dark corpses every time it passes. Chapter 124. But Barry Allen also obviously felt the pressure, panting and said, "The speed seems to be limited." Wonder Woman swung her long sword, taking dozens of creatures with each swing, but even so, she was overwhelmed. These creatures are too powerful. Green Lantern created a hammer with huge amounts of energy, capable of smashing large chunks of creatures with each swing. But his energy is clearly lacking. My energy is almost exhausted. I must find the Dark Lord. Batman started a melee battle with the creatures, using his agility and various weapons to fight against the creatures. In the void, Lin Ke, Roman and Sandman are watching with cold eyes. Lin Ke shook his head lightly. Look, this battle is not going to be easy. Rome, on the other hand, stared intently at the battlefield and said with a smile, "Sometimes I really want to give them a hand." Sandman said softly, "This is their fight and they will have the outcome they want." Batman suddenly thought of a way and shouted, "We need to block the source of these creatures." Superman nodded. "Okay, you create opportunities. I'll go find the Lord of Darkness." Batman, Green Lantern, and the Flash quickly collaborated to try to block the source of the dark creatures in various ways. Batman threw several explosives and blasted a passageway. Green Lantern used his energy to seal the dark cracks, and the Flash kept using super speed to shuttle among the creatures to distract them. Superman rushed to the Dark Lord, and the two quickly started a fierce battle. The Dark Lord doesn't seem to be afraid of Superman, and every attack he makes is full of murderous intent. He is the Blackened Will of the planet and is very powerful, no less than Darkseid. Under the fierce attack, the superheroes quickly fell into a disadvantage, and they were overwhelmed by the dark creatures. Superman and Diana, like lightning, crossed the sea of dark creatures and rushed to the revealed crack, which was the source of dark creatures. This area is shrouded in a kind of darkness that devours everything, as if time and space are stagnant here. Look there. Diana pointed to the center of the crack, where a terrifying figure was absorbing the surrounding dark energy, as if preparing for some kind of ritual. That's the culprit of all this. Advertisement. Superman's rare look turned cold. and his gaze stabbed at the figure like a sharp sword. The two rushed towards the center of the crack, but suddenly a lightning-like dark energy hit them, knocking them out. Hawkman rubbed the place where he was hit, with a pained expression on his face. "How are you?" Diana asked. Hawkman exhaled heavily. "Watch out for your opponents." In the center of the crack, the figure slowly raised its head. It was a seemingly male creature. His face was covered by darkness, and only two eyes burning with red flames could be seen. "You are not my visitors, but you are trying to stop my plan?" His voice was low, with disdain. Diana swung her sword and rushed forward. "Whoever you are, today you must pay for what you did." Asking for flowers, Superman turned into a ray of light and charged directly at the creature. But at this moment, the creature formed a huge amount of shield with dark energy, keeping the two of them out. Superman released heat vision attacks continuously, but they were all blocked by the shield. Diana's long sword made a metallic sound every time it hit the shield, but the shield was not damaged at all. Diana looks at Superman. Their eyes met, and Superman nodded. They began to fly around the crack, forming a vortex, and then the two joined forces, releasing powerful energy, and charged towards the shield. Seeing this scene, the figure showed a trace of surprise on his face, but soon, he began to release more powerful dark energy to fight against the attacks of the two. The two streams of energy fought fiercely in the air, as if two dragons were fighting, and huge amounts of cracks appeared in the sky, as if to tear this space apart. Superman yelled, "Diana, hurry up!" Gripping her sword tightly, Diana responded, "Don't worry, I won't let him escape." The energy of the two became stronger and stronger, and gradually, they seemed to have the upper hand. The figure's shield began to crack, and his body was also damaged by powerful energy. But at this moment, the figure shouted, "I will not be defeated by you." He began to release more powerful dark energy, and those energies began to engulf the surrounding space, making this area even darker. Superman and Diana felt intense oppression, as if the whole space was going to swallow them up. Chapter 125. The two were back to back, and Diana's bracelet released powerful energy, hoping to fight back against the creature. The two streams of energy finally collided in the air, producing huge amounts of explosions that swallowed the entire crack. At the critical moment, Superman's eyes shot out heat. The source of dark creatures is wiped out. The dense black clouds over Negan's star began to dissipate, revealing a faint morning light. The dark creatures seemed to have lost their direction and began to scurry around, and this was the opportunity the superheroes were waiting for. Batman issued the last attack command, and the superheroes went all out to launch a fierce offensive against the dark creatures. Green Lantern's Green 343 light beam, the Flash's arc, Aquaman's huge wave, Cyborg's energy cannon, and other heroes' various energies intertwined to wipe out those dark creatures one by one. After about an hour, there was no longer a dark creature on Negan. All the superheroes are sitting exhausted on the ruins. Some are scarred, and some are panting like cows. Batman pulled down his mask, revealing his sweaty face, and took a deep breath. "We're off to a good start." Wonder Woman looks at Superman. "We probably wouldn't be able to do this without you and Diana." Superman smiled slightly. "It's a piece of cake, nothing more at this time." The figures of Lin Ke, Rome, and Sandman appeared in the sky. They floated in the air, looking down at the ruins. Lin Ke began to speak. "Looks like you're not easy, but I gotta say, Batman, that piece of shit of yours flies so if G slow." Batman frowned. "Then why don't you try?" Lin Ke laughed. "Okay, if there is a chance." The Sandman went on to say, "Wonder Woman, that knife of yours is absolutely killer. When you swung that knife, I really thought you would slice off half of those dark creatures." Diana smiled slightly. "Thank you for the compliment, but there is still a lot of room for improvement." Roman looks to Superman. "Superman, you're really good. You and Diana are really the MVPs of this fight." Lin Ke looked at everyone. "I have to say, you guys are really good. There are some things that need to be improved, but overall it was a perfect fight." The Flash laughed. "We will be stronger when we fight next time." Cyborg also joined them. "I can't wait for this." Advertisement. The heroes all smiled. On the ruins, despite the dawn of victory, the problems facing the superheroes are still enormous. The unknowns and dangers of Negan's star far exceeded their expectations. The crowd sat around and tried to rework the plan. Batman took out a small projector and showed the topographical map of the planet. He pointed to a point and said, "This may be the base of dark creatures. We should sneak in small groups and avoid direct conflict as much as possible." Clark looked at the map and frowned. I don't think that's a wise move, Bruce. You're only seeing the surface. We don't know what's really going on here. I suggest we go all out and wipe them out in one fell swoop. Batman's eyes sharpened instantly, and he stared at Superman. Clark, is your head caught by the door? Direct attack? Do you think we have that strength? Bruce, I know you're used to stealth and strategy, but what we need now is directness and strength. Do you really think you are a regenerative healing factor? Batman said sarcastically. Still think your skin is hard enough to block all attacks? The anger on Superman's face became more and more obvious. At least I don't have to hide behind a bunch of high-tech gear. The surrounding heroes watched the dispute between the two leaders, and the atmosphere became dignified. Wonder Woman tries to moderate. Well, now is not the time to argue. We need to have an effective plan. Batman gave Superman a cold look. Tell me, Clark, do you think your super ability can handle all problems? Superman stood up. The distance between the two was only a few steps. Bruce, there are times when we need to face our problems, not hide from them. The faces of the two were very close, as if a bigger conflict might break out at any time. At this time, Green Lantern came. We are teammates, partners, not enemies. The enemy on Negan is the 2.4 we need to deal with. Neither Batman nor Superman spoke, but it was clear from the look in their eyes that their differences had not been resolved. Roman said softly, perhaps you can combine the two plans, first send a small team to conduct reconnaissance, and then take action according to the situation. Batman nodded and said, as long as it ensures the safety of the team, I agree. Rome and Lin Ke, possibly ill-intentioned. This time to help, it may also be a peach with a heavy belt, but he chose to eat it, because he has no choice.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.